streets.org. Emmaus is restoring lives. Let's help them keep going. Visit streets.org.
Hey, I'm Steve Wyatt, and I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters, Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer. Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect scattered showers with cloudy skies in the morning, giving way to a mix of sun and clouds in the afternoon. The high will reach 71 degrees. Tonight, there may be isolated showers early on, with clouds gradually clearing out later. The low will be around 59 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. After thoughtful conversations, quote unquote, thoughtful conversations, Jimmy Kimmel returned to the airwaves last night. Thoughtful conversations, quote unquote, is how Disney described the process by which they came to agree to have Jimmy Kimmel return to their airwaves, Disney. And, of course, that excludes the ABC stations owned by Sinclair and Nexstar, which have not relented on Jimmy Kimmel in terms of broadcasting his program. So before we get to what Jimmy Kimmel said, because this was clearly part of those thoughtful conversations, the decision to offer what I suppose he would call a clarification. I think it's aggressive to call it an apology, clarification on who he is and what he believes. That's what he did. Before we get to that, let's remember what he actually said so you can compare what he said to his clarification and see if it passes muster with you. First, what he said.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
So, I mean, unfortunate approach to Trump in that moment, but it was obviously the front end of it where he says that MAGA world is trying to do everything they can to avoid the reality that it was one of their own that assassinated Charlie Kirk. Of course, that was untrue. He knew or should have known it to be untrue. And this is what ultimately led to his suspension. So this is what he said last night about what he had said.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang. I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. I posted a message on Instagram on the day he was killed, sending love to his family and asking for compassion, and I meant it, and I still do. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make. But I understand that to some that felt either ill-timed or unclear, or maybe both. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't. Ever. And also, selfishly, I am a person who gets a lot of threats. I get many ugly and scary threats against my life, my wife, my kids, my coworkers because of what I choose to say. And I know those threats don't come from the kind of people on the right who I know and love. So that's what I wanted to say on that subject. But I don't want to make this about me because, and I know this is what people say when they make things about them, but I really don't. This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I agree with one thing he said, that this show is not important. This show is not important. It wasn't his intention to accuse any one particular group. Well, so I said, hardly an apology. It's what he would call, I suppose, a clarification. And the emotion is intended to be convincing, I suppose. Rob Schneider, comedian, conservative. Dear Jimmy Kimmel, in your semi-apology tonight, you lied again. You were not making light of Mr. Kirk's death. The suspension you justly received last week was for falsely accusing MAGA and Republicans, one of their own, you said, for the murder of our friend Charlie Kirk, when it was in fact just another in the long line of murderous leftist lunatics who killed Charlie, who get their inspiration to kill from your dangerous leftist rhetoric. Not exclusively, I would say. Anyway, you and other late night hosts and the other illiberal media constant propagandizing and demonizing fellow Americans as fascists and Nazis have created the atmosphere where leftists feel that killing people who think differently is justified. And you were not even telling it in the form of a joke either, you liar. Even your own ABC affiliates are bored and sickened by your constant political indoctrination, by comedic imposition, and refuse to air your show. Free speech is indeed all speech. We must even protect the speech that we loathe. Well, most Americans are decent, God-fearing people, and we loathe your speech, but we will continue to support your right to speak it freely, but we don't have to watch. And we won't. Signed, America. Rob Schneider, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Some of the comments in reaction to the Kimmel clarification. This was my favorite post on X from a guy whose handle is Clinton. I don't care what anybody says about Jimmy Kimmel. The man saved my life. I had spent 6 weeks in a coma after a terrible accident. When a visitor to my hospital room turned on Jimmy Kimmel, I had to get up and change the channel. Hi-oh! Jimmy Kimmel should hire that guy as a writer. And of course, the more important than Kimmel is that how Kimmel exposed the hypocrisy of the censorious left when it comes to free speech. And, there's so many sort of center-cut examples of the leftist intellect on display, leftist intellect and principles, or lack thereof, on display over the last week in those dastardly 6 days in which Jimmy Kimmel was off the air and America was holding its collective breath. Yeah, right. The comparison contrast. I know it's been done to death, but nevertheless, a little bit more. I mean, just to, again, keep your recollection fresh. Sunny Hostin, for example. She's an officer of the court. She'll be the first to tell you. She's got a law degree. Makes her smart. This is what she had to say about Jimmy Kimmel's suspension.
Our founders drafted the First Amendment specifically to protect the rights of citizens to criticize the government.
Right. Constitutional scholar. Except we're talking about a corporate decision here, not the government. But okay. That was on Jimmy Kimmel's suspension. And, of course, this was on Roseanne Barr's termination over a tweet.
When you cross that kind of societal norm, you must pay the consequence. And firing her was the right thing to do. I'm thrilled that ABC did it.
Field Marshal Tim, Tampon Tim, Jazz Hands Tim, whichever you prefer. You know, like from the Hollywood set, Mark Ruffalo, perhaps most pointedly. We were this close. Did not Jimmy Kimmel return to ABC airwaves last night? We were that close, razor's edge, from living in Afghanistan or North Korea.
And instead, we're banning comedians from being on TV, and then you put out garbage like that. I would hope that Americans would see beyond this. And it is encouraging to me, Chris, some of the clips you played of the conservative comedians and some of the conservative voices like Karl Rove, they get it, that this is North Korea-style stuff. It has no place in America, and people need to make sure that if he gets away with this, man, Katie, bar the door. It's all open. Every one of those rights is then at risk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Says a guy who makes what he calls hate speech and misinformation exceptions to the First Amendment, which by definition obviates the First Amendment. Just a refresher. Make sure we all know what the score is. Brian Stelter, the magic 8-ball over there at CNN, the media critic, gone. Now he's back. He was very concerned about this, too. And we find, this was a good find from Stephen L. Miller, goes by Red Steez on X. Sinclair refusing to air Kimmel's show on its ABC affiliate is another example of the slow unspooling of broadcast TV. You know, it's chilling, it's this and that. Well, back in the day, some 2 decades ago, when Brian Stelter was a precocious media critic coming of age, at least that's how the Baltimore Sun referred to him, writing beyond his years, steering clear of ideological slants that typify much internet commentary. The Baltimore Sun's hagiographic profile on the magic cue ball there. This is what he said of Sinclair back then. This is when he was hosting the show Reliable Sources, or I suppose it's better to say before he was hosting the show on Reliable Sources, but something he never disclosed while hosting that show. This is what he said of Sinclair Media. It's really weird to know that evil operation is only 10 minutes away from where he was. Saying of Sinclair Media. Evil operation back in the day. So you may want to just factor that in when he gives his alleged even-handed distillation and critique of the decisions that Sinclair, or Nexstar for that matter, make as it pertains to Jimmy Kimmel's show, different than, obviously, Disney has made at this juncture. One other aspect of this, the Brendan Carr piece, I do want to address it again. Was critical of him, shouldn't have happened. It was a bad look. I know Disney has said that what Brendan Carr had to say had no impact, was not influential in their decision to suspend Kimmel. But it's really not the point. It's the appearance. And I was reminded of a essay Ayn Rand did at sort of Rand Paul Central, which is Reason Magazine. Robbie Sove excerpting this Ayn Rand reaction to the public interest standard when it comes to broadcast licenses and FCC regulation. the piece of, or the essay, Ayn Rand's essay, Have Gun Will Nudge. Have Gun Will Nudge from 1962. Censorship in its old-fashioned meaning is a government edict that forbids the discussion of some specific subjects or ideas, an edict enforced by government scrutiny of all forms of communication prior to their public release, the old prior restraint. But for stifling the freedom of men's minds, the modern method is much more potent. It rests on the power of non-objective law. It neither forbids nor permits anything. It never defines or specifies. It merely delivers men's lives, fortunes, careers, ambitions into the arbitrary power of a bureaucrat who can reward or punish him at whim. It spares the bureaucrat the troublesome necessity of committing himself to rigid rules, and it places upon the victims the burden of discovering how to please him with a fluid unknowable as their only guide. No, a federal commissioner may never utter a single word for or against any program, but what we suppose will happen if and when, with or without his knowledge, a third assistant or a second cousin or just a nameless friend from Washington whispers to a television executive that the commissioner does not like producer X, or does not approve of writer Y, or takes great interest in the career of starlet X, or is anxious to advance the cause of the United Nations. What makes it possible to bring a free country down to such a level? If you doubt the connection between altruism and statism, I suggest you count how many times in current articles, speeches, and debates there appear the magic formula which makes all such outrages possible. The public interest, quote unquote. Coming up at 5:38. A little bit more color on this because, unfortunately, some people just don't know when to stop. And I'm talking about Moren Napleton and family, who said some unbelievably vulgar, repulsive things about Charlie Kirk's assassination, and the reaction by the family business that persists to yesterday. 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago. On AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Chance for scattered showers today, high of 70 degrees. Monkeypox cases are spiking in our area. According to reports, the disease begins with flu-like symptoms followed by a bumpy rash. Officials say there have been 83 reported cases of monkeypox since June, 24 of those just in the last month. Medical professionals are urging folks to get the vaccine, saying those with the vaccine tend to have much less severe cases of the disease. The president and CEO of Portillo's has resigned, effective immediately. Michael Ozanlu has agreed to stay on for 90 days to assist the chairman of the board, Michael Miles Jr., who's been appointed as interim CEO. A search is underway for a replacement. This news report is sponsored by Discover. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now
Mike Gallagher believes there's another layer.
This feels spiritual, almost as if the forces of evil are attempting to silence us. Just like this 22-year-old assassin set out to silence Charlie Kirk. And I do feel there's something otherworldly going on. There is a good versus evil.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Does your garage floor look lousy with stained or cracked concrete, or even worse, bad epoxy or paint? Call Comer and Cross Concrete Floors now. During their end-of-the-year sale at 1-800-NEW-FLOOR right now, you'll get the best price of the year guaranteed, starting with $750 off. At Comer and Cross Garage Floor, they are the gold standard, guaranteed to never chip, crack, or show tire lift like epoxy or bad paint. And they'll make it so easy, they're in and out in one day. They'll fix your cracks, the pits, and they fix them perfectly the first time. They're certified, they're uniformed, they're employees. They'll even take the stuff out of your garage for you, whether you're in Chicago, Milwaukee, or Indiana. Now is the time to call them for the best price of the year, guaranteed, starting with $750 off right now during their end-of-the-year garage sale. Here's the number. It's easy. 1-800-NEW-FLOOR. That's 1-800-NEW-FLOOR, or go to COMERcross.com.
Are you prepared for the Illinois state tax? If your estate is worth over $4 million, your heirs could face a tax bill of up to 16% when you pass. Financial advisor Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions can show you ways to potentially reduce or even eliminate that burden. One strategy is to start gifting assets during your lifetime to lower the taxable value of your estate. Another option is setting up irrevocable trusts, which can shield wealth from estate taxes. Charitable donations and life insurance policies can also be smart tools to offset tax liabilities. Call Scott Tucker and the Scott Tucker Solutions team now, 847-474-3888, or go to 560retirement.com. That's 847-474-3888, or go to 560retirement.com. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect scattered showers with cloudy skies in the morning, giving way to a mix of sun and clouds later on. The high will reach 71. Tonight, there may be a few showers early on, but clouds will gradually clear out. The low will drop to 59. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, talking about the censorious left in the context of Jimmy Kimmel's return to some of the ABC airwaves yesterday. Just one additional point I wanted to make, just in the comparison contrast, is not where we've been over the last 5 years, 6 years. Well, really the Trump era. And most particularly, though, with respect to the efforts by the Biden administration to use social media companies as third-party cutouts to do against its political enemies what the government couldn't do directly, which also is illicit. And I don't care what Amy Coney Barrett had to write in her weak tea opinion in Murphy v. Missouri. It was illicit, and it was not well intended. Jim Jordan yesterday announcing that Google, thanks to the oversight efforts in the House, has committed to offer all creators previously kicked off YouTube previously kicked off YouTube for its political speech to return to the platform. And there's more than that. They admitted that admitted censorship under Biden, promised to end bans of YouTube accounts of thousands of Americans censored for political speech. They also admitted the following to the House Judiciary Committee. The Biden administration censorship pressure was, quote, unacceptable and wrong. Public debate should never come at the expense of relying on, quote unquote, authorities. The company will never use third-party fact checkers. Europe's censorship laws targets American companies and threatens American speech, including the removal of lawful content. So they're pushing back on that in conjunction with the Trump administration. This is all admissions that came after House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan subpoenaed Google, and this is in part the work product of a years-long investigation. So that's what and Mark Zuckerberg says Biden officials would scream and curse when seeking removal of Facebook content. That's a headline, and there are many stories that go along with that headline. of a similar nature. This is the biggest social media companies saying they were under pressure. Now, it doesn't afford them well that they capitulated to it and or were silent about it while it was ongoing. Only when it was safe to come out are they wrapping themselves to the First Amendment and now offering pushback to curry favor with the current administration and have the current administration do some of its bidding overseas with the European Union. There's no question that's a part of it. But the admissions are the admissions. The evidence is the evidence. And the Twitter file evidence was damning. But all throughout this period, when people like Jimmy Kimmel were cheerleading Donald Trump and Trump supporters being taken off social media, the D.C. press corps was running pieces like this one in Rolling Stone: Why Cancel Culture is Good for Democracy. History has shown it that those in power are obsessed with turning any form of accountability into a phenomenon that is intended to bring us into sudden doom. Whatever that means. Is some sort of defense for deplatforming people so as to silence dissent. That's the last, well, certainly the last 4 years under the Biden administration, and really the left's posture amped up from previous highs during the Trump era. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line, and text line. Craig in Mount Greenwood, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Oh, hey, good morning, Dan, and thank you much for taking my call. I'll tell you what, I didn't see that thing. I am so glad you had that recording of him. It was side by side with what he said. It was so clear. That guy, okay, yesterday or something like I said, he's a lying political hack. But now, when he clarified things, he's a pathetic, cowardly liar. And the whole point is he had a perfect, great opportunity to basically show himself to be more than that, and basically apologize correctly and basically be honest about things. And he did exactly the opposite. He showed what the left really is. They can't apologize. They can't admit wrong. They can't do any of it. They're just rotten, lying, deceitful cowards, period. And he shows it like what it is.
So I guess you don't accept this clarification, I'm gathering. Thanks for the call, Craig. And I just wanted to get to something else about the vile reactions to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Moren Napleton. Moren Napleton is an attorney. There was a story that we brought you last week that got a lot of attention because of the unbelievably vile and ignorant things that she said in response to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Celebrating it really doesn't quite capture it. And this, of course, generated a response. Actually, a guy from who knows the Napleton family or works for one of the Napleton auto groups, I don't know, called in and made a very reasoned point about, look, that her view doesn't represent the views of all the employees, and we don't want this to redound to people trying to make a living selling cars or providing administrative support to car dealers and so on and so forth. Know that there's separation there in terms of point of view. And I could see the point reasonable. And I said, look, this is not an attack on the Napleton family or the Napleton business. It's just an example of a raffle. This is, a rich kid who was born with a silver spoon in her mouth, living in one of the Tony suburbs, Western Springs. And rather than polishing that silver spoon and turning it into gold, she's allowed the bile that emanates from inside her to dissolve it entirely. So it was about Moren Napleton and what she said. And then the Napleton conglomerate issued a statement, which was judicious, distancing themselves from her comments. But they said that she never worked for Napleton. She didn't, so she was never in the employee of any Napleton auto group. even though on her LinkedIn page, I think she characterized herself as a lawyer for Napleton. I think she used assistant general counsel in the story that was done for DuPage Policy Journal. She was referenced as a legal counsel. Well, then I got a demand letter from Napleton's attorney yesterday. And I'll get to that in just 1 second. Sarah in Glenview, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, regarding the word you use, cutouts, often. It's not just about the cutouts. That's chilling enough that they do for the government what the government can't do. I'm old enough to remember when the Biden regime was in the process of creating this Federal Bureau of Misinformation, and it was headed by, remember that wannabe Mary Poppins character?
Yes. Yeah.
And it had a federal, I mean, this is an actual bureau of the government.
Thanks for the call, Sarah. So this is the demand letter I got from Napleton's attorney. Such an interesting approach. Represent Bill Napleton, Napleton Auto Group, relative to a damaging false narrative recently spread online, fueled in large part by a September 18th article published about my clients on DuPagePolicyJournal.com. We request that upon receipt of this correspondence, you immediately disable the article on your website and any associated social media channels to mitigate the largely irreversible damages which are exponentially increasing each day, and quote, and number 2, contact me for a civil discussion aimed at a more permanent resolution. Well, one, I don't have the authority to post or depost anything on DuPage Policy Journal, so they're sending me a story about sending me a demand letter arguing that a false narrative while they're falsely ascribing to me authority I don't have. That's number one, just in terms of knowing what the hell you're talking about. The following headline, Napleton Auto Group's legal counsel celebrates Charlie Kirk's death on social media. He can burn in the deepest depths of hell. That's what Moren Napleton said, among other things. Napleton Auto Group's legal counsel never made the statements attributed to Moren Napleton. Miss Napleton is not employed by Napleton Auto Group and was not employed by Napleton Auto Group during any relevant time period. Simple fact of the matter, contrary to the false and negative light your article casts, not my article. Your accusation is false, but okay. Your article casts on my clients. She did not post the objectionable statements in any capacity with or on behalf of Napleton Auto Group. Okay. No relationship. You know, I said, you know, don't be cute when they sent a statement out suggesting that Moren Napleton has no relationship to the Napleton Auto Group, to the Napleton. She basically tried to say, like, she has Moren Napleton. Who's Moren Napleton? She has nothing to do with what we do. Okay. So, you know, we have attorneys too. I don't know why they thought this was the proper approach. They just gets such bad advice. They maybe should get better attorneys. Maureen Elizabeth Napleton, in terms of her ARDC record, James Roche and Associates in Hinsdale. That's where she's, I guess, housed. Okay. And then what you see is that James Roche and Associates has represented Napleton Auto Management, LLC, Napleton Chevrolet, LLC, Napleton Libertyville, LLC, Napleton Libertyville Ford, LLC, Napleton Motor Cars, LLC, Napleton Schaumburg Pontiac GMC, LLC, Napleton Lincoln, LLC, Napleton Schaumburg Motors, LLC, Napleton Schaumburg Mazda, Napleton Schaumburg Domestic Holdings, Napleton Schaumburg Buick GMC, Napleton Schaumburg Pontiac, Napleton East Palatine Holdings, Napleton Palatine Hyundai, Napleton Palatine Chevrolet, Napleton Palatine Chevy, Napleton West Palatine Holdings LLC, Napleton Pontiac Inc., Napleton's Wilmette Ford, Napleton North Aurora Lincoln Mercury, Napleton Schaumburg Pontiac GMC, Napleton Pontiac, Napleton Elgin Holding Inc., Napleton Palatine Mazda, Napleton Palatine Motors Holding Inc., Napleton Palatine Motors Inc. These are just instances where the Roche law firm, James J. Roche, Megan Roche, are the attorneys of record, and Moren Napleton is affiliated with the Roche law firm, according to her ARDC record. So that thing about being too cute on this, you just didn't want to leave it alone. So now you have me telling you this story, telling our audience this story about what she said again, what you said, rather than just owning it and saying, yeah, that's something that we distance ourselves from. She doesn't represent our views. I conceded the point. I suspected she didn't. I said, I have nothing against the business or whatever. It's just using this as an example, somebody who wanted attention. So I gave her the attention. It's a name that is known because it's such a big business, has such a big business footprint in the Chicagoland region, as I just sort of illustrated. And you want to come at me with a demand letter? This is for those who practicing PR, crisis communications out there. This is for you kids out there practicing PR or crisis communications. This is exactly how not to do it. If you want something that damages your brand, or you think does, to go away rather than be amplified. Mike in Union.
Dan, it sounds like it should have been an inter-office memo and a demand for an apology by what's her name, Maureen, rather than coming at you. What do I know? I've only got 7 letters in my last name.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Mike. Yeah, that's the approach you want to take. Mike in Kakuna.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, this is insane. A law firm who doesn't understand the First Amendment and all of its 5 components. What are they? What are they willing to sue for? Freedom of religion, to photograph in a public space. These are 3rd graders who run this law firm, who have brought, that letter against you. It's just, you know what? Thank you for, pushing against this assault.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Appreciate it. Well, again, now we're going to repeat it. Moren Napleton. I would be so very happy to dance on this MFer's grave. If you don't like my opinion, that's a you problem, because I do not give a single blank. Unfollow, unfriend, be gone. This man was a monster, and I only hope Trump is next. If these ass blank want to live by the sword, they have to die by the sword. And if you don't get that reference, you are too uneducated to comment. And goes on from there to, basically say additional vile things, but that's, she's previously described Trump as the orange antichrist. And I mean, all the usual things you would hear, but if you give a blank about guns and poor Charlie being murdered by guns, pay more attention to children being gunned down on a regular basis, those sorts of things, in addition to dancing on his grave and hoping that Trump is next. So is this how you thought it would go, Napleton Auto Group, when you sent me a demand letter? Tina and Joliet.
I am so glad you are talking about this. So that woman's tweets were perhaps the most heinous that I've read. And I've read some really, really disgusting things. That's in the top 5. And then when I read their statement, their initial statement, I was flabbergasted. It was such a tepid, non-acknowledgement of who this woman was, and a blatant lie and denial. I had already looked up the fact that she was clearly their legal representation on real estate transactions, and she represented them on zoning matters. It's all public record. And it was, I honestly, I hope nobody ever shops there again. I truly do. I feel bad that the employees have to deal with the spoiled, rotten brat with the repercussions of her actions, but nobody should buy a vehicle from these people. The correct response would have been to say, this is completely unacceptable. We've distanced ourselves from, the law firm that represented us. Moren Napleton will no longer be working here or handling any legal matters for us. Something.
Thanks for the call, Tina. Yeah. I mean, the statement from Napleton Auto Group was posted on the same DuPage policyjournal.com story. They just had to, walk away from sort of any responsibility, pretend, a Napleton is not connected to a Napleton. The rest of the statement, if you just said, look, we condemn it, we condemn forms of political violence, we believe in respectful discourse, the things that they said, if they would have just left it there. But they had to be disingenuous. They had to try to be cute. And then they had to try to, come over the top of someone like me? Poor choices, Napleton Automotive Group. It is now 6 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Jimmy Kimmel returns. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and it was an emotional one.
It was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man.
And Kimmel said he never intended to blame any specific group for the actions of a disturbed individual.
I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't. Ever.
Disney took Kimmel's show off the air last week after comments he'd made about Kirk's alleged assassin. Kimmel also thanked his supporters, even naming some conservatives who were critical of the show's suspension. As for President Trump,
our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke.
Well, President Trump posted on Truth Social he can't believe ABC gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back, calling the show Democrat garbage, suggesting on Truth Social it could be a major illegal campaign contribution for them. Some ABC stations did not air the return.
Viewers in dozens of TV markets, including Washington, D.C., Seattle, and Nashville, were unable to watch. The Nexstar Media Group and Sinclair Broadcast Group saying they will continue to preempt the show on a quarter of ABC stations as they evaluate the show's content.
Fox's Todd Pyro. President Trump's making news on Russia's war after a meeting at the UN with Ukraine leader Volodymyr Zelensky. The president posted on Truth Social that Russia's a paper tiger, adding he thinks Ukraine is in a position to win back all of its territory Russia's taken. After talks to end the war with Russian leader Vladimir Putin haven't stopped the fighting, Zelensky tells Fox.
The fact that Putin was lying to President Trump so many times also made a difference.
Ryan Ruth, the man accused in the second Trump assassination attempt last year, was convicted in federal court in Florida on all charges. Then Ruth tried to stab himself in the neck after the verdict, but he was subdued and taken away. America's listening to Fox News.
Good Good morning. It's 65 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The Department of Homeland Security reveals the numbers from Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago, reporting that more than 500 people have been detained. Fox's CJ Papa has more.
DHS claims they are targeting violent criminals, but agents reportedly scooped up a U.S. citizen near suburban Elgin by mistake, but later released him. Illinois senior U.S. Senator Dick Durbin said fewer than 30% of those who've been arrested have any kind of criminal background whatsoever. The senator's comments came after several days of clashes between protesters and ICE and Border Patrol agents at the ICE processing center in the West Chicago suburb of Broadview. DHS argued on X that protesters at that facility are fighting to keep rapists, murderers, and other violent criminals loose on Chicago streets. Federal officials said Monday that the Broadview facility would remain open despite rumors it would close. CJ Papa, Fox News.
Meanwhile, a federal immigration agent called his injuries, quote, nothing major in police body cam footage that was released yesterday, which showed the moments after the agent shot and killed a Mexican immigrant during a traffic stop this month. Immigration officials had previously said the agent was, quote, seriously injured by being dragged by a car. The local police footage was released as Chicago area advocates and officials, including Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, have called for more transparency and accountability in that case. And Chicago Cubs third baseman Matt Shaw insists he has no regrets about missing a game to attend the memorial service for his friend Charlie Kirk on Sunday. He says Erica Kirk texted him asking him to attend the event. Shaw says he and Kirk lived in the same apartment complex in Arizona and they connected through their faith. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross, Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder explains the legacy of Charlie Kirk.
He had the ability to change people's minds. It's one thing to provoke. It's another thing to have a conversation, a dialogue with people. And at the end of that dialogue, convince someone that maybe, just maybe, I should rethink my assumptions. Maybe, just maybe, I was wrong. This is the impact this man has had.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hello, this is Alistair Begg. In September of 2026, I'll be teaching the Bible as we cruise through the Norwegian fjords. I'd love for you to join me. Call 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Living with everyday pain is like having a voice that always says, no, you can't do that. No, you better sit this one out. It's no way to live. So if pain is affecting you, see how Relief Factor can help get you back to life on your terms. One where you say yes a lot more. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor's unique formula of natural ingredients does not just mask pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it for good. Whether it's your back, neck, joints, or muscles, Relief Factor can help you, as it has for so many others. So call 1-800-4RELIEF and give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day to get your life back. Just go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. And see how you can say yes to more of everything you want.
Does your garage floor look lousy with stained or cracked concrete? Or even worse, bad epoxy or paint? Call Comer and Cross Concrete Floors now. During their end-of-the-year sale at 1-800-NEW-FLOOR right now, you'll get the best price of the year guaranteed, starting with $750 off. At Comer and Cross Garage Floor, they are the gold standard, guaranteed to never chip, crack, or show tire lift like epoxy or bad paint. And they'll make it so easy, they're in and out in one day. They'll fix your cracks, the pits, and they fix them perfectly the first time. They're certified, they're uniformed, they're employees. They'll even take the stuff out of your garage for you. whether you're in Chicago, Milwaukee, or Indiana. Now is the time to call them for the best price of the year, guaranteed, starting with $750 off right now during their end-of-the-year garage sale. Here's the number. It's easy. 1-800-NEW-FLOOR. That's 1-800-NEW-FLOOR, or go to COMERcross.com.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit almostfreeteeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at almostfreeteeth.com.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with traffic, a service of Surround Chicago. A 14-minute ride, Eden's inbound, Lake Cook to Montrose. Eden's outbound, Montrose to Lake Cook, 13 minutes. Less than a 10-minute ride inbound on the Kennedy, Montrose to the Byrne Interchange. Also less than 10 minutes outbound Kennedy from the Byrne Interchange to Montrose. Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to Old Post Office, 13 minutes. And a 14-minute travel time on the Eisenhower outbound from the Old Post Office to Wolf. On the Stevenson inbound, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, you're looking at 28 minutes. Stevenson outbound, Lakeshore Drive to 355, 22 minutes. And a 25-minute ride on the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Overnight work still in place in your right lane as you approach the Stevenson. Traffic is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performance digital solutions to surround your target audience. Go to surroundchicago.com today. I'm KT. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now here's the latest forecast from QC Kinetics.
Today, expect scattered showers with cloudy skies in the morning, giving way to a mix of sun and clouds in the afternoon. The high will reach 71 degrees. Tonight, there may be isolated showers early on, with clouds gradually clearing out later. The low will be around 59 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Trump getting high marks from the Wall Street Journal's editorial board. That doesn't always happen. For his remarks at the UN yesterday, and he deserves the high marks. That he put the cause of Western civilization front and center in his speech to the UN's assembled noblemen and magistrates. I say that sarcastically. The Journal opining, President Trump breaks political conventions almost daily, for better or worse, but sometimes his candor has the advantage of speaking truths that no one else dares to recognize. And so he did Tuesday in New York when he told the United Nations General Assembly that it is increasingly irrelevant. Yeah. And he put it right between the eyes of our European friends in terms of what they are doing to themselves and to, again, Western civilization by extension.
Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And I hate to see it being devastated by energy and immigration. This double-tailed monster destroys everything in its wake, and they cannot let that happen any longer. You're doing it because you want to be nice. You want to be politically correct, and you're destroying your heritage. They must take control strongly and immediately of the unmitigated immigration disaster and the fake energy catastrophe before it's too late.
Yeah, he went on for a good part of his remarks on this topic, and it was beneficial that he did, certainly appropriate that he did.
We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed. Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody is ever, and nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And the comparison contrast could not be more stark, not just rhetorically, but substantively. Because President Trump is doing something about it, has from day one. And Tom Homan was on Laura Ingram's program yesterday, providing an update on where things are at and where things are going. I hope all of those purveyors of agitprop and those astroturf protesters, including those doing so under the cloak of, being a faith leader, talking about the Broadview situation here, protesting Operation Midway Blitz, and frankly breaking the law too. It's a protest that features trying to impede federal law enforcement officers. That's a crime. Vandalism. That's a crime. Assaulting officers. That's a crime. Tom Homan.
We'll have over 400,000 deportations, between CBP and ICE, and that's just since the president took office. The first 4 months of the fiscal year, we can't count them because Joe Biden wasn't doing anything. But here's what people need to understand: two things. Number one, over 1.5 million illegal aliens, close to 1.6 illegal aliens already left the country on their own. Why? Because they see what ICE is doing out there every day. One of the reasons we have the most secure border in the history of this nation is because the great work of the men and women of the Border Patrol, the great work of President Trump and his leadership, but also because ICE is out there, over 1,000 teams all across the country arresting people. So a lot of people have left, a lot of people aren't coming, which helps to secure that border. And that was a part of the strategy from the beginning. We said if we show consequences, we show them we're actually out there looking for them, many will leave. So we knew with a large population leaving, over 1.5 million have. But what's to come? ICE is getting 10,000 more agents. Right now they got 5,000 deportation officers. We're tripling the size of the workforce. We're adding more detention beds. We're adding more flights and more transportation. So the numbers are going to explode here this next coming year.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. So you go ahead and have your sit-ins like you saw New York politicians have, state-level New York politicians doing the same thing, trying to block ICE, having their 60s kumbaya, occupying the university president's office moment.
Being led by a fascist president, I'm here because ICE should be out of New York. I am here to ensure that we protect all our fellow constituents. It is not illegal to be undocumented. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved.
And then they were moved. Mm-hmm. And for those, the reporting by the Chicago Press Corps, of course, masked ICE agents sprayed David Black, pastor of First Presbyterian Church, directly in the face during protests outside the ICE processing facility in Broadview. And they caught that for the NPR Times, state-run media. Yeah? Right. So, I'm sorry, is a pastor above the law? If you're part of a mob that is engaged in illegal activity, that is not peacefully protesting, and they use tear gas or other chemical agents to disperse the crowd, as you would anticipate, he's lucky he wasn't arrested and prosecuted. He should have been. Corey and Woodlawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. I love the president. I love what he said to the United Nations, but I am fearful that no one can step in and take his shoes in the next 3 years. I see the list of people that are trying to run, and I don't think that they can step in and take his shoes and be as effective as he can to the voters. But I also want to say this one thing. The Democrats' response to a specific issue that 80% of Americans weren't taken care of the way Trump is taken care of just shows how daft and inept these individuals are at leading. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Yeah, and he had a message, sort of a message that was larger than just the migration issue, although that was central to his criticism of the West, what they have done, those European countries, as well as, our allies in North and South America, what they have done in terms of migration policy, what they have done in terms of energy policy. But he also sort of, consistent with his prodding them to be more focused on doing what is in the best interest of their citizenry on the migration issue. He also had a message for them about doing what is in the best interest of their citizenry, across the range of issues.
The entire globalist concept of asking successful industrialized nations to inflict pain on themselves and radically disrupt their entire societies must be rejected completely and totally, and it must be immediate. That's why in America I withdrew from the fake Paris Climate Accord, where, by the way, America was paying so much more than every country. Others weren't paying. China didn't have to pay until 2030. Russia was given an old standard that was easy to meet, a 1990 standard. But for the United States, we're supposed to pay like $1 trillion. And I said, this is another scam. The fact is, the United States has been taken advantage of by the world for many, many years, but not any longer, as you probably noticed. I unleashed massive energy production and signed historic executive orders to hunt for oil, but we don't have to do much hunting because we have the most oil of any nation anywhere, oil and gas in the world. And if you add coal, we have the most of any nation in the world. Clean, I call it clean, beautiful coal. You can do things today with coal that you couldn't have done 10 years ago, 15 years. So I have a little standing order in the White House. Never use the word coal, only use the words clean, beautiful coal. Sounds much better, doesn't it? But we stand ready to provide any country with abundant, affordable energy supplies if you need them, when most of you do. We're proudly exporting energy all over the world. We're now the largest exporter.
Always be closing. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. He also had, there was a bit of a light moment, although it was light, I think, but it was pointed because there's some question about whether this was purposeful or not. But regardless, he had a little problem when he entered the UN building there, getting up the escalator. And they had a little problem inputting his speech into the teleprompter. And he addressed the General Assembly about those two issues.
I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle, and then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
Robert Bloomingdale, here on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. I love it how Trump says the globalists, and at the same time he goes to London, sits with King Charles, who's one of the biggest climate change kooks. If you looked at that table in London, the people he was sitting with, those were all the globalists. This is all a show of The Apprentice. It's all a put on. It's all a put on, Dan.
I don't know what that means. So what? So he goes to meet with. So he goes to meet. I mean, I don't support the royal family, but he goes to meet with the family that's important to the Brits. He goes to meet with heads of state. He meets with Macron. He meets with Starmer. He meets with all sorts of world leaders who are not pursuing the same policies he is. But then, what is underlying his choices when he talks America first? Is he pursuing policies consistent with what he is arguing for and consistent with what he's suggesting Europe do in playing follow the leader? Is that not true?
No, it's not true because I'm not talking about the leaders of the countries. Look who else was sitting at those tables. The biggest private equity guys, the guys controlling trillions of dollars. They're not heads of state. They're the guys pulling the strings. Okay.
So what policies? If he is a globalist, which is what you're insinuating, in the pejorative sense of that word that he uses it, if he's just like those people sitting at that table, then how do you square that accusation with the policies he's actually pursuing specific to migration and energy, hold on.
Go ahead.
With specific to migration and energy, which were the two main foci of his remarks.
Did you ever watch the episode of The Apprentice? Did you ever watch one?
No, actually, I didn't.
Well, I have. It's just a put on. It's all fiction. He talks about hope and change. Remember hope and change, and help is on the way. It's all a show. It's a Hollywood production.
So
everything you hear is bullshit.
First of all, grow up. You can't use that word on these airwaves. So that got bleeped. Secondly, you just keep repeating yourself. The border security policies, what you heard from Tom Homan in the progress over the first 9 months of the administration in terms of removing people in this country illegally, particularly those who pose public safety threats. What we are doing and he has done with respect to energy policy, as endorsed by, I don't know, the CEO of Chevron, for example, we've talked about on this program. That none of that is real. That's all a mirage.
It's real. It's real. Chevron's one of the globalists. Look how they're part of the global. They're part of the globalists. You're right. It is real. It is real, and what's real and not real, nobody can tell. Because it's a show.
Okay, Robert, I got it. It's just a show, and there's just no dislodging you from that position you've taken, which you're just going to repeat rather than address the substantive results. This is all invention. Multinational corporations have global interests. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is Trump acting consistent with sort of the America First vision that he laid out, and particularly, as per his remarks yesterday, on those issues of migration and energy policy. And I don't know, regardless of the rhetoric or who he has dinner with, in any particular country on any particular night, is he acting in furtherance of that America First vision? Is he acting in furtherance of the American people's interests, particularly on border security, migration policy, energy policy? Let's see if we can focus on the substance here, as opposed to the pomp and circumstance. Al and Rosemont.
Hey, Dan. It sounded like a movie I've seen before yesterday. It was awesome, though, the speech. The Godfather 3, in which Joey Zaza goes on a rant and walks out of the room. I love it. I'm waiting for what happens next.
Thanks, Al.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors, economists, Gabe Alice, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
For decades, Dennis Prager shared his wisdom with listeners around the world through his lectures, courses, interviews, and debates. Now, for the first time, the collective wisdom of Dennis Prager is being made available as a podcast. Listen to Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager, with new episodes released for a limited time only as a podcast. Subscribe for free today at DennisPrager.com. That's Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager, exclusively at DennisPrager.com.
If you need custom boxes and crates, expert packing and crating, import-export transloading with heavy lift capability, the DC Group delivers. It all started 51 years ago with DC Export and Domestic Packing, the hard work of founders Dominic and Carol Cochemiglio. Their family's desire to exceed customer expectations, backed by an incredible team and loyal customers, is now driving expansion. From their humble roots in a garage-sized building to 100,000 square feet in the Chicago area, 45,000 in Greenville, and a new Houston facility, they're coast to coast. And their sister company, DC Transport, handles everything from container drayage to super heavy haul loads across North America since 1991. Whether it's packing and crating, transloading, transportation service, or trade shows, the DC Group delivers. Those that attended FabTech 2025, we'd love to hear from you. Get your quote now at dcexport.com. That's dcexport.com, your trusted logistics partner.
AM 560, The Answer.
One other entertaining aspect of Trump's remarks yesterday was when he talked about how he bid the job to do a renovation of the UN building there in Manhattan. And, he could have done it for a fraction of the cost they paid, and it would have been a much better quality, but they didn't go with him. Typical UN.
Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It would be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic. But they decided to go in another direction, which was much more expensive at the time, and which actually produced a far inferior product. And I realized that they did not know what they were doing when it came to construction, and that their building concepts were so wrong, and the product that they were proposing to build was so bad and so costly. It was going to cost them a fortune. And I said, and wait till you see the overruns. Well, I turned out to be right. They had massive cost overruns and spent between $2 and $4 billion on the building and did not even get the marble floors that I promised them. You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? As far as I'm...
Oh, God. That's highly entertaining. Coming up at 6:36, we'll continue on this topic a bit. I want to focus on Trump's about face on Russia and Ukraine. Significant. We'll start there with George Beebe, former director of Russia analysis for the CIA. That's at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Scattered showers, high of 74 degrees today. A missing 13-year-old girl from New York has been found at an apartment complex in Blue Island. Officials say the girl was found with an 18-year-old man and his father, who are both in the U.S. illegally. The men are being held in ICE custody. Charges have not yet been announced. The Oak Park Fire Department fielded several calls Monday night from residents who were reporting a strange odor. A post on the department's social media page said, quote, "Our crews investigated a significant portion of the village north and south and did not find any credible public threats with monitoring devices. While there was no cause found, the department says it does not believe that there is a risk to the public." News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross, Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Checking the roads comes up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Join AM 560 on Thursday, October 2nd in Glen Ellen for a conservative conversation, an evening of insight, inspiration, and ideas on how conservatives can unite around shared values to advance a common agenda. Speakers will include Pastor Lorenzo Sewell of 180 Church in Detroit, Jeannie Ives, and John Anthony, with each bringing a unique perspective on faith, policy, and community leadership. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/conversation. That's 560theanswer.com/conversation.
Rising debt, stock market swings, and global shocks can affect your retirement. But even in this economy, there's still opportunity. Protect your retirement with a secure, tax-advantaged gold IRA. Instead of leaving a 401k or IRA at the mercy of markets, hold physical gold or silver. Real protection for your future. And Noble Gold makes it simple. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com and chat with a specialist. The conversation is free, and the peace of mind is priceless. NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions.
Hey, I'm Brant, and her name is Sherry.
Hello.
She's a friend of mine whom we were just praying for because of a surgery she just went through.
Yes, and I am very happy about something you actually talk about all the time, which is
Medishare.
That is right.
Yeah. So what was your experience like with Medishare and the healthcare bills?
Honestly, Brant, seamless. And what a blessing that is when you're already nervous about a health issue, which I was.
Yeah.
Members shared my expenses. There were zero problems. And let me tell you, having people pray with you when you call in with your need, that is just...
It is refreshing.
Yes, that's what it is.
What I keep telling people. People love Medishare, and they love saving tons of money, too. The typical family can save $500 a month.
I am very thankful for Medishare. It is so different, and I mean different in a very, very good way.
It is good different. Call now. They're easy to talk to, and you can get a price within 2 minutes. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Why don't we do one of those one-day bathroom remodels?
Well, because I don't want a generic bathroom that looks like it belongs at a campsite.
Fair. I'd love something that fits us. A bigger shower, safety grab bars, better lighting, heated floors.
Let's go with Forever Remodeling. There's no templates. Every design is unique and exactly what we want.
At Forever Remodeling, no two bathrooms are ever the same. Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with traffic and service of Blindster.com on the inbound Edens Lake Cook to Montrose, 17 minutes. A 14-minute ride on the Edens outbound Montrose to Lake Cook. On the inbound Kennedy Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, a 15-minute travel time. Kennedy outbound from the Byrne Interchange to Montrose, you're looking at 12 minutes. Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, a 25-minute ride and 16 minutes on the Eisenhower outbound from the Old Post Office to Wolf. On the Stevenson inbound, you're looking at 34 minutes from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. On the outbound Stevenson Lakeshore Drive to 355, 23 minutes. Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, an 18-minute ride and an 11-minute ride on the Dan Ryan outbound from the Byrne Interchange to 95th. Kyle started Blindster in 2010 to make quality custom-made blinds affordable to everyone. Traditional window covering retailers are expensive. Blindster's prices are low and their blinds are guaranteed to fit. Blindster.com. I'm KT. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now here's the latest forecast from QC Kinetics.
Today, expect scattered showers with cloudy skies in the morning, giving way to a mix of sun and clouds later on. The high will reach 71. Tonight, there may be a few showers early on, but clouds will gradually clear out. The low will drop to 59. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. In addition to offering the speech in defense of Western civilization and, frankly, America First policies before the UN General Assembly yesterday, President Trump also made time to meet with other heads of state individually. Milei, Argentina. We'll talk about that a bit later. As well as Zelensky. And the relationship with Zelensky has improved dramatically since that unfortunate public spat they had at the Oval Office when Zelensky visited several months back. He's taking a different approach to Putin now is President Trump. This is how it went with Zelensky.
An interesting day, I think a very productive day. And we're now we're going to start a meeting with the president, who we all know very well, and he's a brave man, and he's picking up one hell of a fight. And we'll see how that all turns out. But we're going to have a meeting, and we have about 30 meetings scheduled today. We have a lot of meetings scheduled today, going pretty late into the night. But this is an important one, and we have great respect for the fight that Ukraine is putting up. It's pretty amazing, actually.
Well, it doesn't sound like a guy who is going to walk away from Ukraine. He added, after getting to know and fully understand the Ukraine-Russia military and economic situation, after seeing the economic trouble it is causing Russia, I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form. He believes Ukraine now can win and should win. And he's taking a much more aggressive posture towards Putin rhetorically when asked whether or not Russian drones or aircraft that enters NATO airspace should be shot down.
Do you think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do.
For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by George Beebe, former director of Russia analysis at the CIA and a former staff advisor to Vice President Cheney on Russia and on intel matters. Currently director of grand strategy at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. George, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So how about those fairly strident comments, both positively in the direction of Ukraine and Zelensky, and much less positively in the direction of Putin? What does that signal to you?
Well, I think the big question here is, has President Trump given up on the prospect of forging a compromise peace settlement in Ukraine? And if you look at the rhetoric superficially, I think a lot of people would say, well, yeah, he's basically said we're done. It's up to Russia and Ukraine to figure out how this war ends, whether it's on the battlefield or at the negotiating table. Good luck. Let us know how things go. But I'm not so sure that that's in fact where the president is right now. I think he is certainly frustrated that he has not been able to get the two sides to reach a compromise. But I think what he is saying here is to all of the parties, Europe, Ukraine, and Russia, unless you're willing to take a more realistic position on terms of a settlement, go ahead and fight this out. See how this goes. Now, this notion that Ukraine can actually drive Russian forces off of territory that they are occupying in Ukraine is absolutely false. The Ukrainians can't drive the Russians off of the territory that Russia holds in Ukraine right now. They proved that in 2023 when they launched this big counteroffensive that had all kinds of support from the United States and Europe. And it utterly failed. It took no territory back whatsoever. The problem that the Ukrainians face here is that this is a war in which the defense has an enormous advantage over the offense. It is very hard to take territory. The Russians are experiencing that right now. But if the Ukrainians were to try to go on to offense, they would fail. And I think what President Trump has done very cleverly is say to the Ukrainians, you need to be a lot more realistic about what you're doing in this war. And for Europe, this is also, I think, an alarm. What he has done is to say to the Europeans, you don't want to compromise with Russia? Fine, you support Ukraine. You provide them with the money and the weapons that they need. And that's going to be an alarm bell for the Europeans. So I think this is actually an effort to bring some realism to all of the parties in this conflict.
Well, the other thing he does when he says, I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form. Well, anything short of that occurring, and hey, that's the EU's fault.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's right. And the EU does not want to be in a position to try to back Ukraine and confront Russia on its own without U.S. support. And if you notice Trump's rhetoric, he used that term NATO as if it meant Europe, but not the United States. And it wouldn't be hard for the Europeans to understand that. And that is alarming to them as well. The notion that they would be going up against the Russians, shooting down Russian aircraft without the United States military standing behind them, defending them, that in turn, I think, makes them very concerned. So I think this is a gambit to try to get to jolt these players into a more realistic negotiating position.
Including Putin, when he says, look, Russia has been fighting, this is Trump, this is a direct quote, Russia has been fighting aimlessly for 3.5 years, a war that should have taken a real military power less than a week to win. This is not distinguishing Russia. In fact, it's very much making them look like a paper tiger. So he's signaling to Putin, nobody's afraid. I'm certainly not afraid of you. We're not afraid of you. You're at a stasis, in a war that you should have won easily in terms of what your desires were. And so if you want to continue to dig in and deplete your resources, manpower and otherwise, then go ahead and dig in. We're going to stick with our play. We're going to represent our interests in Ukraine, and you're going nowhere. So you better get back to the table.
Right. So this sends two messages to the Russians. Number one is we might walk away from this process. That alarms the Russians, not because they don't think they can ultimately prevail on the battlefield in Ukraine. I think they believe they can. But what it says to the Russians is your opportunity for rapprochement with the United States, for improving your relationship with the United States, might go away. That window might be closing. And the Russians want a better relationship with the United States because it makes them less dependent on China. They want more room for maneuver. They want to be a great power in the world. Well, a great power in the world is not the junior partner of China. They need a relationship with the United States and the West. So that was the message that Trump was sending to Putin.
And what was the message he was sending to the UN when he said he said explicitly, what is the purpose of the United Nations? I've always said the UN has such tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. The Wall Street Journal built on that and offered the editorial board. Mr. Trump didn't say this, but we will. Ukraine war, the UN has been hapless. Gaza, it's mostly emboldened Hamas to refuse to compromise. China's expansions in the South China Sea, useless. What is the purpose of the United Nations? Does anybody know?
Well, it has clearly failed to live up to the potential that the founders had after World War II, when they were trying to create an organization that would prevent the kind of great power conflict that became so disastrous in the 20th century. And it has failed to live up to that. And right now there's a challenge that the United Nations faces, and that is, can it manage these tensions, these conflicts between great powers, and prevent a spiral into direct conflict? So I think President Trump was essentially saying to the UN, show us your utility. Let's demonstrate through practical achievements that the UN can do what it was intended to do. And I think he's absolutely right. The UN does face that kind of challenge right now.
And with respect to the central tenets of his speech that we were discussing before you joined us, his message to Western nations, the industrialized world, hey, listen, you're destroying yourselves with your open borders policies, as well as this climate change silliness and your sort of anti-growth energy policies. And so basically, look at what I'm doing and repeat it and mimic it, basically.
No, that's right. And there's no question that uncontrolled borders are a huge problem, not just for the United States, but many other countries in the world, and Europe, I think, more than any other. This is something that does require action. And unfortunately, the political processes in much of the West have paralyzed government's ability to take action on this. And I think President Trump is, again, throwing down the gauntlet, saying this can't continue. It will result in the suicide of the West and many other countries as well.
George Beebe is a former director of Russia analysis at the CIA, former staff advisor to VP Cheney on Russia and Intel Matters, currently the director of Grand Strategy at the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. George Beebe, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Ooh, something smells good.
Let's see. Melt 2 sticks of butter and add sugar.
Ben, what are you doing?
I'm cooking Thanksgiving dinner.
What? It's way too early for that.
I know, Arvid, but I just can't wait to serve a big family meal on the Flay table from Penny Mustard.
Oh, I love the Flay table. The design is so sleek and simple, yet oh so perfect.
Mix in 2 cups of peanut butter and strained beets.
The Flay's strong Midwest craftsmanship means you'll be serving family feasts on this table for generations.
Half a cup of mayonnaise.
And it's expandable. So as your family grows, the Flay table grows too.
And just a dash of Tabasco.
Hold on. What recipe are you making?
Recipe? What's a recipe?
The American-made solid wood Flay table paired with 4 Kendall chairs with your choice of fabric or leather starting at $68.71 at Penny Mustard.
7 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Tastier versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal, with a binding decision, and it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com or call direct 773-255-6150. You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chivato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, but having a bank that you can trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Well, put Moren Napleton on blast now. I mentioned Moren Napleton last hour because after Moren Napleton posted what she posted about Charlie Kirk after he was assassinated, and the DuPage Policy Journal did a story on her posting. The Napleton Auto Group issued a statement subsequent to this story getting around because what she said was so disgraceful. And I'll repeat it. That they condemned all forms of political violence, believe in respectful discourse. You know, her viewpoint was not their viewpoint, the Napleton Auto Group writ large, which I suspected it wasn't. And we were going to leave it there. But they had to say, she's never been employed, the article was incorrect. They had to try to get cute. And so last hour, I talked about a demand letter I got from an attorney representing the Napleton Auto Group, demanding I retract a story that I'm not in a position to retract. And to communicate with the lawyer about some more permanent resolution to this and so on and so forth. Not doing that. And we documented, because, I have lawyers too, that per her ARDC recording, that she works for a firm that does all sorts of work for the Napleton Group. Per conversations I've had with people who know the Napletons very well. I'm talking about like guys at Edgewood Valley Country Club. They know them and they know her. That this whole, they were trying to be too cute. And I said, after that statement, fine with the statement, don't be cute about it. Just own it and let's move on. I'm not trying to hurt the business or anybody else. People work for the business. Just distance yourself from this lunatic and let's everybody move on. But they couldn't do that. Okay. By the way, what did she say? Moren Napleton of Western Springs? Raffle, Silver Spoon Baby. I would be so very happy to dance on this MFer's grave If you don't like my opinion, that's a you problem because I do not give a single blank. Unfollow, unfriend, be gone. This man was a monster, referring to Charlie Kirk, of course. And I only hope Trump is next. If these ass blank want to live by the sword, they have to die by the sword. And if you don't get that reference, you are too uneducated to comment, says the highly educated Moren Napleton. Okay. Well, I got more color on Moren Napleton. Email from a friend. The 4 oldest Napleton girls were all at Elm School with my children and nieces. Maureen, the second oldest, was a covert, narcissistic bully from first grade or kindergarten on. She would select a child to torment, then turn the other girls against the victim so that the other girls would shun the victim in the fear that they too would be shunned if they didn't follow Maureen's lead. Her first victim was a girl named Laurel, I won't say her last name, whose nanny thanked me in tears for inviting her over to play and told me she was afraid she would commit suicide due to Maureen's harassment of her. Laurel rode the bus home with Maureen and every day went to her room to cry until 6 p.m. when the parents came home. This is in first or second grade. I knew Mary Napleton socially, so when I could get her alone at a party, I gently explained what the nanny had said, including the suicide part, and here was her reply, quote, I don't care, I don't like the mother, and I don't care what happens to that child, unquote. Maybe I see where Maureen gets it. I was stunned. In the 3rd grade, a new girl came to school, Katie. The parents were Russian emigres, and both parents worked. By 4th grade, Maureen had the boys obeying her as well, having been the first girl to enter puberty. Katie's mother in 4th grade called me hysterical. She had planned a birthday party for Katie, and my daughter was the only girl to accept. My daughter explained that Katie was the new Laurel, and no one was allowed to speak to her or play with her per Maureen's leadership. There was a PTO meeting regarding this, and the mother spoke. My daughter begged me not to speak at it, as Mary Napleton was co-president of the PTO. So I quietly went to the teachers I trusted to explain the situation. They tried to help by taking Katie under their wings. The situation continued at the middle school, and Katie never recovered, socially or mentally. She had been a bright, engaging little girl when she arrived, but emerged from Hinsdale Central, an intelligent recluse who whispered everything. Because no matter what she said when she was younger, it was seized upon and derided, all to please Maureen by her minions. I'm glad she now has a worthy opponent in you. Do not doubt that you are facing the devil. She does wear Prada. Nice clothes. Pun intended. So Maureen was a little monster, speaking of the use of the word monster, from the get-go, it would seem, at least according to this very detailed recounting of Maureen's conduct as a young person. And it persists into her late 30s, obviously. The only thing that didn't happen was her maturation. Okay. Is it going the way you thought it would, Napleton Automotive Group? Coming up at 7:07, talk to Andy McCarthy about accusations in the direction of Tom Homan, as well as the President Trump's legal authority to interdict narco-terrorists the way he has been doing so. That's at 7:07. It is now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Jimmy Kimmel's show back on the air on some ABC stations. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
I was not happy when they pulled me off the air on Wednesday. I did not agree with that decision, and I told them that.
And while Kimmel did not apologize for comments about Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin that had Disney suspend his show last week, Kimmel got emotional, saying he never intended to make light of a murder.
Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual.
Kimmel also thanked his supporters and conservatives he disagrees with for being critical of his suspension, though he remains off the air on dozens of ABC stations owned by Sinclair and Nexstar that didn't put his show back on last night. Kimmel got a standing ovation, saying President Trump can't take a joke.
The President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs.
President Trump posted on Truth Social he can't believe Kimmel got his job back, that he's not funny, and his show is 99% Democrat garbage that he wrote might be a major illegal campaign contribution. The day after the president criticized the UN at the UN for not stopping wars, for pushing a Palestinian state, illegal immigration, and climate change, which he called a con job, new U.S. ambassador to the UN Mike Waltz just told Fox.
This is a president of peace. He absolutely deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. And the UN can and should be a forum where we can engage and actually get things done.
While at the UN, the president also met with Ukraine's leader Volodymyr Zelensky, who tells Fox he thinks President Trump's tired of being lied to by Russian leader Vladimir Putin.
Very positive signals from the side that Trump and America will be with us to the end of the war.
The president called Russia a paper tiger in a Truth Social post. Fox's Peter Doocy reads at the White House.
After seeing the economic trouble it is causing Russia, I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form.
America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. The president and CEO of Portillo's has resigned effective immediately. Michael Osanlu said leading Portillo's has been, quote, one of the great honors of my career. Osanlu has agreed to stay on for 90 days to assist the chairman of the board, Michael Miles Jr., who's been appointed as interim CEO. A search is underway for a replacement. Illinois Department of Public Health has issued an order that will allow almost anyone in the state to get the updated COVID-19 vaccine. Now, this is a sharp contrast to the guidance that was issued by the CDC last week, which declined to recommend the vaccine for anyone and left the choice up to individuals. The Oak Park Fire Department fielded several calls Monday night from residents reporting a strange odor. A post on the department's social media page said, quote, our crews investigated a significant portion of the village north and south and did not find any credible public threats with monitoring devices. Now, while there was no cause found, the department said it still does not believe that there's a risk to the public. U.S. News and World Report has released their top 100 colleges list. 4 Illinois institutions making that list, including the University of Chicago, which was ranked number 6, and Northwestern, which came in at number 7. University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign came in at 36 on the list, followed by the University of Illinois Chicago at 84. And Chicago Cubs third baseman Matt Shaw insists he has no regrets about missing a game to attend the memorial for his friend Charlie Kirk on Sunday. He says Erica Kirk texted him asking him to attend the event and that he was, quote, not concerned at all about any backlash towards him going. Shaw says he and Kirk lived in the same apartment complex in Arizona and they connected through their faith. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross, Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Living with everyday pain is like having a voice that always says, no, you can't do that. No, you better sit this one out. It's no way to live. So if pain is affecting you, see how Relief Factor can help get you back to life on your terms. One where you say yes a lot more. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor's unique formula of natural ingredients does not just mask pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it for good. Whether it's your back, neck, joints, or muscles, Relief Factor can help you, as it has for so many others. So call 1-800-4RELIEF and give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day to get your life back. Just go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And see how you can say yes to more of everything you want.
This is Seth Liebson for townhall.com. In a day and age of fleeting stories fed to us by a constant conveyor belt of crisis and frenzy, keeping us all in a constant state of agitation with little ability to focus on the meaningful, what cannot be ignored is that our nation recently witnessed the first national political assassination in over 50 years. In the wake of that, the memorial service for the victim, Charlie Kirk, had the largest viewership of any memorial service in U.S. history. The service was a call to prayer and faith as much as it was to action. It was a revival and a crusade, especially for youth, who the memorialized was especially close to and worked with. It was a deep moment, a weighty moment, and a reproach to all the unimportant and empty figures our elite media propagates. The impact of that service will have lasting power in an age too celebratory of the momentary, calling all who watched, particularly the young, to the better angels of our nature. I'm Seth Liebson.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with traffic, a service of Turnkey.pro. Eden's inbound Lake Cook to Montrose, a 22-minute ride. 14 minutes on the Eden's outbound Montrose to Lake Cook. A 14-minute delay on the inbound Kennedy Montrose to the Burn Interchange. It'll take you 23 minutes. And a 17-minute ride on the Kennedy outbound from the Burn Interchange to Montrose. Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 31 minutes. And a 25-minute travel time on the Eisenhower outbound from the Old Post Office to Wolf. On the Stevenson inbound, you're looking at a 46-minute ride from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. On the Stevenson outbound, Lakeshore Drive to 355, a 29-minute ride, and a 24-minute travel time on the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Traffic is a service of Turnkey. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. For a limited time, Turnkey is offering all new customers their first month of service free, including Microsoft Learning, antivirus, anti-malware, data backup, plus 24/7 help desk support. Visit turnkey.pro today. I'm KT. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now here's the latest forecast from QZ Kinetics.
Today, expect scattered showers with cloudy skies in the morning, giving way to a mix of sun and clouds later on. The high will reach 71. Tonight, there may be a few showers early on, but clouds will gradually clear out. The low will drop to 59. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. President Trump yesterday addressing the UN had a message for narco-terrorists and their state sponsors. I think President Sheinbaum and dictator Maduro might want to pay particular attention to what he had to say, that the bombings will continue until morale improves.
To protect our citizens, I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as and you see this, and you see it happening right before your eyes. Let's put it this way. People don't like taking big loads of drugs in boats anymore. There aren't too many boats that are traveling on the seas by Venezuela. They tend not to want to travel very quickly anymore. And we've virtually stopped drugs coming into our country by sea. We call them the water drugs. They kill hundreds of thousands of people. I've also designated multiple savage drug cartels as far as foreign terrorist organizations, along with two bloodthirsty transnational gangs, probably the worst gangs anywhere in the world, MS-13 and Tren de Aragua. Tren de Aragua is from Venezuela, by the way. Such organizations torture, maim, mutilate, and murder with impunity. They're the enemies of all humanity. And for this reason, we've recently begun using the supreme power of the United States military to destroy Venezuelan terrorists and trafficking networks led by Nicolas Maduro. To every terrorist thug smuggling poisonous drugs into the United States of America, please be warned that we will blow you out of existence. That's what we're doing. We have no choice. Can't let it happen. They're destroying. I believe we lost 300,000 people last year to drugs, 300,000. Fentanyl and other drugs. Each boat that we sink carries drugs that would kill more than 25,000 Americans. We will not let that happen.
For commentary on whether or not that is within the constitutional authority of the president and other matters related to law and order, please be joined, as always, by Andrew McCarthy, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, contributing editor at National Review, author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Dan.
So he's not backing off. That's pretty clear in terms of the approach he's taken to designated narco-terrorist organizations. And I know you opined on this recently, saying that he does not have the constitutional authority to do what he's doing. Explain.
Well, he doesn't have the legal authority. The president has the authority to use lethal military force against foreign threats to the United States without congressional authorization, only if there's a attack on, or an imminent attack or an imminent threat to American interests of a military kind. Our law, you can argue that this is, wise or not wise, but our law criminalizes importation of narcotics as a crime to be prosecuted in court. And not only that, the first Trump administration brought 5 indictments, I think, against Maduro, Tren de Aragua, Maduro's cartel, which is known as our Cartel of the Suns, and various other Venezuelan figures. So I think that, Dan, that Congress could, I don't think they would do this, but I think Congress could equate a boatload of narcotics with a missile. That's kind of what President Trump's theory is here, that there's no functional difference between a foreign enemy naval craft firing a missile at the United States and a drug cartel, arguably, according to the president, under the direction of Maduro, shipping narcotics to the United States. I think Congress could draw that equivalence, but the president can't, not constitutionally. Now,
sorry to interrupt, but so when Obama used drone strikes to take out rank and file members of Al Qaeda or ISIS in faraway lands where there was no imminent threat they could possibly pose to the United States, at least not the homeland. Was he exceeding his authority in those cases?
Well, first, Obama's not the only one who did that, right?
No, true.
Going back to Bush did that.
Yeah.
But they were operating under. Now, I will preface this by saying I don't agree with this either, but they were operating under the post 9/11 authorization for the use of military force, which didn't have. It didn't name the enemy. That was one of the things I complained about it at the time. And it didn't have any temporal or geographical limitations. So what's happened with the 2001 AUMF is they have rationalized that it applies not just to the organization that carried out the 9/11 attacks, which is what it was meant to target in the first place, but all of its successor groups. So you have groups like ISIS, which didn't even exist as Al-Qaeda in Iraq back in 2001. So we're like 2 leaps from where ISIS is a breakaway faction of Al-Qaeda. But I think they've distorted, contorted, and otherwise stretched beyond recognition the 2001 authorization for the use of military force. But that's the way that it's been interpreted. That's the way that every administration since the Bush 43 administration has interpreted it as, basically, if you were somehow arguably covered by Al-Qaeda or its successor organizations, which are now manifold, that authorizes military force. And it's because Congress authorized it. In this instance, we're dealing with President Trump unilaterally saying he's got the authority to deploy these military assets to the Caribbean, which I do think he has the authority to do, but also to, shoot them without military provocation on the theory that a boat carrying narcotics is the same thing as a boat firing a missile.
Was taking out Soleimani, Trump in the first term, was that did that exceed his authority in your view?
No, because Iran at that time was conducting attacks against American military personnel and assets overseas, and Soleimani was coordinating it. So I think President Trump probably had a solid argument that he was taking out an imminent threat to the United States, which he's permitted to do without congressional authorization.
And so there again, like the analogy, and maybe you don't think there's the evidence to support this, but if there were, does the analogy of Maduro being directly connected to narco traffickers, which includes Tren de Aragua, gangbangers who are in this country committing crimes and otherwise imperiling public safety, I mean, is that enough of a nexus to establish a basis for the president?
It hasn't been historically. I think, first of all, I think Trump's declaration of Tren de Aragua and MS-13, for that matter, as terrorist organizations is very dubious. I don't think they're terrorist organizations, but the law gives the executive branch the authority to do that, and courts are not going to second guess the president on that designation. But I do think it's a big leap. We've never before designated organizations that are mainly narcotics trafficking organizations, at least as they interrelate with the United States, as terrorist organizations. But assuming that is legally legitimate, whether it is or it isn't, a designation of an organization as a terrorist organization is not an authorization to use military force. Legally, what that does is it gives us the right to basically cut off their funding, prosecute people for providing material support to the organization, do a few more things monitoring their recruiting and their fundraising than we would otherwise do. The reason the designation process works with foreign organizations is because we wouldn't otherwise have jurisdiction over them. So Congress has this process in order to give our law enforcement and Treasury assets legal jurisdiction to cut off funding and material resources to these organizations. But it's not an authorization for military force. So, for example, we designated Al-Qaeda as a terrorist organization in, I think, early 1999. It was after the 1998 embassy bombings at Kenya and Tanzania. Even though that authorization was in place, or the designation was in place as of 1999, when 9/11 happened, Congress still had to authorize military force in order to unleash the military against Al-Qaeda. That is to say, nobody thought that the fact that they had been designated as terrorist organizations in 1998 was good enough to authorize military force in 2001. That's why Congress voted for it.
But from a practical matter, is this just sort of the latest expansion of the imperial presidency? Pardon my Arthur Schlesinger Jr. Because, I mean, nobody is, minus a few civil libertarians and constitutional scholars such as yourself. But, nobody is moving to stop the president. It doesn't seem like anybody's interested in taking this up. So it's just going to be Congress not acting and the executive filling that power void, as happens a lot, and not just with Trump.
Yeah, well, this was predictable, though, right? First of all, Trump is doing this in a way that, is upsetting to people like me, because it's not just, Obama did, in principle, Obama and Biden did exactly the same thing. They basically said, screw what the law is, I'm doing what I want to do. Here, Trump is doing that too, but he's killing people, which is like taking a step further. But if you think about it, remember the litigation over immunity back in 2024, which was the biggest thing in the country at the time, right? And if you remember those oral arguments before the D.C. Circuit and the Supreme Court, what they were constantly doing was giving these hypotheticals, like what if the president uses military force against, X? And it was sometimes absurd examples, like what if the president ordered the armed forces to kill a political foe, which of course the armed forces wouldn't do. But the more plausible hypotheticals were, what if the president ordered military force to start a war with a country we weren't at war with? And where the courts ultimately came out on that was, if it's an abuse of power, that's for the political branches, mainly Congress, to deal with, because courts and prosecutors in our system are not the check on presidential excess or presidential abuses of power.
Right.
So the practical reality, which is what you're driving at, is that if Congress won't rein the president in, the only limitation on what the president can do is his own sense of his political boundaries. He really can't otherwise. He's not going to be indicted. He's not, we now know, even if, let's say I think this is the worst thing a president's ever done. Let's say all of us thought it was the worst thing a president had ever done. The Supreme Court has said, and I think they're right about this, that a president can't be civilly sued or criminally indicted for official acts he takes as president. Because in our system, the check on that is Congress. It's not prosecutors and courts. So Trump is not worried about that. He's not worried that he's going to be indicted for what he's doing now. And it's all, is Congress willing to step up to the plate and say, we're cutting off funding for this, or we're not going to give you any more of your nominees. We're not going to confirm. And, all the things that Congress has in its arsenal to try to bend the president to Congress's will, if it's not going to use those tools, then Trump can do whatever he wants to do, subject to his own sense of what his political and moral boundaries are.
Speaking of boundaries, he also posted over the weekend on Truth Social his impatience with the progress on criminal investigations into bad actors from the previous regime, and from some that extend back to his first presidency, like a Jim Comey. Mentioned Comey, Schiff, and New York Attorney General Letitia James specifically, saying they're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times, ! Over nothing. Justice must be served now, in all caps, with 3!
3.
That means he means it. And so, Pam Bondi's on notice. I don't know what that does, other than make it clear that the president is paying attention, and he is going to expect some public resolution of this that I assume will be more detailed and impactful than the public disposition of the Epstein file matter. But how did you react to President Trump's impatience as expressed on social media?
Well, I thought it was, it was over the top, but like you could say that 5 times a week. Look, it's odd for him. I mean, he's just, he's intemperate when he gets in these moods, but for somebody, first of all, they didn't indict him over nothing. Some of the cases were over nothing. Some of them were over very serious misconduct, which may not have been prosecutable, but it was serious misconduct. And what he ought to take away from that is all these, like, people like Comey, say, who abuse their powers as director of the FBI. Comey has immunity, just like Trump has immunity. People are not going to be prosecuted for things that they did in their government positions. And as far as this guy Pulte, who he's installed at the Federal Housing Financing Agency. Mm-hmm. If I was a prosecutor for a very long time. If you find that people have made misstatements on financial documents, That's the beginning of a fraud investigation. It's not a slam dunk fraud case.
Well, that's why he referred it to the Department of Justice.
Well, but he referred it by saying that they had committed serious felonies, and then Trump tried to remove the Federal Reserve governor by saying outright that she had committed fraud. And what they have is the beginning of a fraud investigation. And I would just, as I said in what I wrote about this over the weekend, it would be a useful reminder to President Trump that the case against him that I agree with him that he ought to be very upset about, that Letitia James brought, was based on a lot of misrepresentations that Trump made about his assets that didn't actually defraud anyone. Like the fact that he said that his apartment in Manhattan was, 30,000 square feet when it was actually 10,000 square feet, or 11,000 when he was, using it as an asset to get loans or what have you. That misrepresentation about the asset is the beginning of a fraud investigation. It doesn't establish fraud. And the criminal prosecutors, the Justice Department people who looked at this in the Biden administration, and then even Alvin Bragg's office, although it was mainly under Bragg's predecessor, looked at that and said, we're not bringing a criminal case on the basis of that because nobody got defrauded. Trump, yes, he exaggerated his assets, but he also said that his counterparties should do their own due diligence on the assets. And nobody lost any money, and all of the counterparties were happy to do business with Trump because they made money off it. So a prosecutor looks at that, even a prosecutor from Bragg's office who's dying to indict Trump on something, looks at that and says, that's ridiculous. I'm not bringing a criminal case on the basis of that. And all these people that Trump has appointed, they'd be delighted to make a case on Adam Schiff or James or Comey or what have you. It's that the evidence, either the evidence isn't there, or I looked at the Schiff case and the James case. These are like ancient transactions. The federal statute of limitations is 5 years. The cases would get thrown out in 2 seconds. And the reason that these guys are not bringing the cases is, Trump is ranting and raving that he wants these people charged, but the U.S. attorneys who bring that case are going to be embarrassed in front of the court. It's their own reputations for signing off on something like that that they don't want to do, which is why you've had a number of these U.S. attorneys have packed it in rather than bring these cases because they don't want to embarrass themselves. Bondi wanted this job, right? She's the attorney general, so she has to deal with Trump going crazy that these people haven't been charged. But the reason they haven't been charged is not that these pro-Trump prosecutors don't want to charge. They just don't want to be embarrassed because there's not cases there.
Andy McCarthy, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney, Southern District of New York, contributing editor at National Review, author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thank you as always. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dan.
And Andy joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Does your garage floor look lousy with stained or cracked concrete, or even worse, bad epoxy or paint? Call Comer and Cross Concrete Floors now. During their end-of-the-year sale at 1-800-NEW-FLOOR right now, you'll get the best price of the year guaranteed, starting with $750 off. At Comer and Cross Garage Floor, they are the gold standard, guaranteed to never chip, crack, or show tire lift like epoxy or bad paint. And they'll make it so easy, they're in and out in one day. They'll fix your cracks, the pits, and they fix them perfectly the first time. They're certified, they're uniformed, they're employees. They'll even take the stuff out of your garage for you, whether you're in Chicago, Milwaukee, or Indiana. Now is the time to call them for the best price of the year, guaranteed, starting with $750 off right now during their end-of-the-year garage sale. Here's the number. It's easy. 1-800-NEW-FLOOR. That's 1-800-NEW-FLOOR, or go to COMERcross.com.
You've heard me talk about Northridge for years, but now I want you to hear from one of their recent graduates, TJ Gorman, who just graduated second in his class in Marine Corps basic training. This is what he had to say about Northridge. I'm quoting him. I was blessed to attend Northridge, not only for the education, but for the values and principles my mentors instilled within me. The school taught us what it meant to be a leader and lead through example, hard work, humility, and empathy. I thank God for Northridge. That's what makes Northridge Prep great for young men. The students are called to excellence to become true leaders. And these boys want to go to school each day. They love Northridge because they can be free to learn, to grow, and to be challenged. There's a real spirit of adventure on campus that you've just got to experience for yourself to appreciate it. For nearly 50 years, they've partnered with parents like no other school in the Chicagoland area. Today, in our nation, we need more Northridge graduates to lead the way as men of intellect and character who love God. Guys like T.J. Gorman, men who put their values first. They have an open house coming up Sunday, October 19th at 1 p.m. for boys in grades 6 through 12. You can register for that open house at northridgeprep.org. Again, the open house is Sunday, October 19th at 1 p.m. and register at their website, northridgeprep.org.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus.
That big online store has special days with ridiculously low prices. So why don't you?
We do.
You do? When?
Every day. Our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393. Free next day delivery, too.
Wow.
Yeah. Plus, through Monday, get a free box spring or take an equal amount off an adjustable base.
I guess you could say that now is a prime time to buy.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselus.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37, talk dollars and cents, markets and money with Stephen Moore, including President Trump sit down with Argentinian President Javier Milei yesterday, and what the U.S. relationship will be going forward as Milei attempts to dollarize the Argentinian economy. Important discussion. We'll start there with Steve, 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 66 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A missing 13-year-old girl from New York has been found at an apartment complex in Blue Island. Officials say the girl was found with an 18-year-old male and his father, who were both in the U.S. illegally. Both men are being held in ICE custody, charges yet to be announced. Monkeypox cases are spiking in our area. According to reports, the disease begins with flu-like symptoms followed by a bumpy rash. Officials say there have been 83 reported cases of monkeypox since June, 24 of those just in the last month. Medical professionals are urging folks to get the vaccine, saying that those with the vaccine tend to have much less severe cases of the disease. This news update is quickly delivered by Quick Delivery Service. For reliable same-day delivery, Quick Delivery will customize a logistics plan to pick up your items and move them safely to their destination. Trust their 40 years of experience for peace of mind. Get a quote at quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Catch more money with leading economist Steve Moore.
I'm excited about America. I think things are going really well. I think we've turned a corner here. I think Biden economics is well behind us now. This is a miracle what's going on here. If anything, it's better than I thought it would be. So many good things happening in the economy. Low inflation, low unemployment rate, consumer confidence up, business confidence up. All of the indicators are pointing north right now.
It's More Money, Saturday at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Attention all listeners, financial planners, CPA, and divorce attorneys. In 2021, there were over 420,000 licensed loan originators. Today, that number is down to 93,000. That's a reduction of over 75% of licensed loan officers within the past 4 years. If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender who's still in business. While mortgage companies have been closing and hundreds of thousands of loan officers have left the business since 2021, Team Hochberg has expanded and is stronger than ever and would love to earn your business. Let's review. Hundreds of mortgage companies have closed down and over 327,000 loan officers exited the mortgage business, while Team Hochberg has expanded and is stronger than ever. If you'd like to work with experienced mortgage professionals who'll appreciate your business, call 855-563-2843 or visit 560david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
Attention
Attention investors with a 401k, IRA, or retirement account. The dollar has lost over 25% of its value in the past 5 years, and it's only going to get worse. Are you prepared for what's about to happen next? We are Advantage Gold, the #1 customer-rated gold IRA company in America, and we are helping Americans prepare for the great de-dollarization by diversifying their portfolios with physical precious metals. We've partnered with former chief economist of the IMF, Kenneth Rogoff, to give away his latest book called Our Dollar, Your Problem, a must-read for investors. Call 800-741-GOLD, and we'll rush a free copy of Our Dollar, Your Problem to your doorstep and include our special gold IRA investing kit, valued at $49. The dollar is losing value fast. Call 800-741-GOLD now to get your free copy of Our Dollar, Your Problem and our free gold IRA investing kit. Supplies are limited. Consult your tax and financial professional before investing. Call 800-741-4653. That's 800-741-GOLD.
Whether you are old or young, no one likes to lose money. The market is at an all-time high. How much risk does your portfolio really have in it? Are you worried that you could lose your hard-earned money? Call TJ Stearns in Arlington Heights at 800-640-2256 for your free risk report. Call right now and we will include a full analysis of your portfolio. Don't wait until it's too late. Call TJ Stearns, a local and longtime sponsor on AM 560. Call 800-640-2256. Call now and tell him AM 560 sent you.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with traffic and service of Audible. Eden's inbound Lake Cook to Montrose, a 21-minute ride. 16 minutes Eden's outbound Montrose to Lake Cook. It'll take you 31 minutes on the inbound Kennedy Montrose to the Burn Interchange. 20 minutes on the Kennedy outbound from the Burn Interchange to Montrose. 18-minute delay on the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office. It'll take you 33 minutes. And a travel time of 32 minutes on the Eisenhower outbound from the old post office to Wolf. Got a 51-minute ride on the Stevenson inbound from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Stevenson outbound Lakeshore Drive to 355, 30 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, you're looking at 26 minutes. Stuck in traffic? Audible's Romance Collection will have you falling fast in the slow lane. Satisfy every side of you with best-selling modern rom-coms, the hottest romanticies series, and anticipated new releases. Start listening for free when you sign up for a 30-day trial at audible.com. I'm KT. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now here's the latest forecast from QC Kinetics.
Today, expect scattered showers with cloudy skies in the morning, giving way to a mix of sun and clouds in the afternoon. The high will reach 71 degrees. Tonight, there may be isolated showers early on, with clouds gradually clearing out later. The low will be around 59 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just some breaking news. We'll update this as information becomes available. Boy, it's particularly salient considering the ugliness outside the ICE facility in Broadview over the weekend and into this week. 3 people critically wounded at Dallas ICE facility. 1 shooter found dead as police searching for possible sniper. The prospect of more violence to achieve political ends. We'll keep you updated on that story. Turning our attention to President Trump's meeting with heads of state as he addressed the collection of heads of state and their representatives in the UN General Assembly yesterday in New York. We mentioned earlier in the program his conversation with Zelensky and his movement rhetorically in the direction of Ukraine and against the interest of Putin more vociferously than ever. He also made time for a sit-down with Javier Milei, the free marketeer who's taken the reins in Argentina and has been doing great, but is desiring to move to dollarization, move Argentina to dollarization, which is something that I think would be in America's interests. I think the Trump administration thinks so, too. So trying to facilitate that, here's what Trump had to say.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. We have a lot of meetings scheduled, but I wanted to meet with the president of Argentina, and we both wanted to meet with friends. He's done a fantastic job, and I'm doing something that I don't often do. I'm giving a full endorsement to him. We just endorsed him for president. As you know, he has a race coming up, and I'm sure he's going to do well, but now I think this hopefully assures it. And to the people of Argentina, we're backing him 100%. We think he's done a fantastic job. He, like us, inherited a mess, and what he's done to fix it is good, and Scott is working with their country so that they can get good debt and all of the things that you need to make Argentina great again. So it's an honor for me to endorse the president and the future president of Argentina. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And when Scott, of course, he's talking about Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. The Wall Street Journal opining Milei has made large fiscal and regulatory gains since inheriting an economic mess from the Peronists in December of 23. He's balanced the budget, liberated thousands of entrepreneurs from a tangle of red tape. In the 12 months ending in June, the economy expanded more than 6%. However, investment hasn't flowed into the country as policymakers had hoped, and the economic growth has slowed. The culprit, as usual, is doubt about the central bank and the stability of the currency, the peso that it controls. And, there's some criticism of how Milei has tried to move, but his instincts are certainly right. Bessent tweeting in advance of yesterday's meeting, Argentina is a systemically important U.S. ally in Latin America, and the U.S. Treasury stands ready to do what is needed within its mandate to support Argentina. All options for stabilization are on the table. They may include, but are not limited to, swap lines, direct currency purchases of U.S. dollar-denominated government debt from the Treasury Exchange Stabilization Fund. Opportunities for private investment remain expensive, and Argentina will be great. Again, of course, borrowing from the president, we remain confident that President Milei's support for fiscal discipline and pro-growth reforms are necessary to break Argentina's long history of decline. And the commitment, is strong in terms of backing the play that Milei is trying to make. For more on this and other matters, economic and orientation, please be joined by Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Dan, great to be with you. And by the way, before I mention anything about Milei, I wanted to mention something about that speech yesterday that Trump gave at the UN, because it was a remarkable speech, and I watched much of it as he was delivering it. And you left out one of the best parts, Dan, which is that he ripped into climate change hysteria.
Yeah,
and it was amazing, to hear an American president lecture the Europeans and these Asians about how they've caused energy poverty for their people and have moved away from reliable, cheap, and abundant fossil fuels for this craziness of, windmills and solar panels. And I've been waiting for decades for an American president to say exactly. And by the way, the best part of it was, Dan, I don't know if you watched any of it, was they were, the cameras were panning the audience and they were all scowling.
Of course.
Saying this.
Well, he's putting it right. Yeah, no, we've discussed it quite a bit, including that aspect of it earlier in the program. But he's putting it right between their eyes, and he's saying not just that climate, the whole climate change is the greatest ripoff of all time, but also, hey, look, we got oil, we got clean, beautiful coal. If you don't want to be energy independent, we'll benefit from your energy dependence on the United States, right?
Yeah, we're producing more oil and gas than ever before in the United States, and coal, and so we have. I was in Indiana last week, and I paid $2.79 a gallon for gas. Remember, it was $5 a gallon not so long ago under Biden. So it is lowering prices for consumers. It's good for our industry. And he just slapped the Europeans and said, "What the hell are you people doing? You're destroying your own industries."
$2.79. You put regular in that Lamborghini you drive around?
No, you're mistaking that for your Lamborghini.
Yeah. All right. So what about Argentina? And this is a bit of a esoteric issue, but it's an important one. Our relationship there, and making sure that we help Milei be a success, so that maybe other countries will replicate his free market approach to organizing, economic activity in their countries. So the dollarization of Argentina and what America can do to facilitate it.
No, that's absolutely what Argentina has been doing, and that's the way they've brought down their inflation rate from 1,000% down to about 6%. So they've stabilized their currency. But incidentally, just so people know, historically, when China moved towards away from communism back in the early mid 1980s, before President Xi, and had their economic boom, one of the smart things the Chinese did was they essentially dollarized by pegging the yuan to the dollar. And quite frankly, every country should do that. I mean, it's not like the dollar is gold, but it is certainly the most stable currency out there, and most countries get poor because they lose control of their currency, and they cause massive inflation that destroys a country.
And otherwise, I mean, there's some criticism of Milei that he has been, he preserved capital controls of the previous administration. Central bank used a crawling peg below the inflation rate to prop up the peso, so that he's been engaged in some of the market manipulations that impede the move to a stable currency. But generally speaking, I mean, there's no question that Javier Milei is our ride or die in South America, right?
Well, what you just said is true, but you have to put that in the perspective of what I just said before, that the Argentina peso was worthless. I mean, before Milei came in, it was barely worth the paper that the bills were printed on, and they just kept putting more and more zeros on them, and that leads to economic destruction. So they're much better. Their inflation rate has come down by 95% since he came into office. Now, I don't know all of the moves he's done. There is some shock therapy here. When you take away massive government benefits to bureaucrats and people, that's going to cause some pain and suffering. But it's a shock therapy that needs to be done. I mean, people have to understand, Argentina back 100 years ago was one of the richest countries in the world. Their per capita income rivaled the United States. Did you know that, Dan?
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, of course, they had the Perones came in, and they destroyed the economy because they moved towards, communism. And they've been paying a heavy price ever since. And so when Milei is doing, hey, let's go back to free markets, that seems to be a better formula than what we've been using in Argentina for the last 50 years. So, yeah, and he's going to face a tough reelection. I mean, the left is out to get him.
The Trump announcement this week, jacking up the fees associated with H-1B visas.
Yeah.
Your reaction to that?
Well, if people get our hotline, and I know you do, Dan, if you're not getting it, why not? Because it's free. Just go to unleashprosperity.com and get it for free. But we had a big expose on this a couple of days ago. Did you know, if you look at the magnificent seven companies, three of those seven, Google, Tesla, and Microsoft, all today, their CEOs came into the United States on an H-1B visa, and two of them founded the companies. So, come on, how can you say that these H-1B people are taking jobs from Americans? They create entire industries. How much poorer would America be today if we didn't have an Elon Musk or the people who run Google and Microsoft? So. These are people who are what Larry Kudlow calls the brainiacs. They come in, they create far, far more jobs than they take because they make our American industry so much more competitive. We need far more of them. We can completely dominate the age of satellites, artificial intelligence, robotics, just the way we have dominated the era of the internet, by continuing to bring the top talent from the rest of the world to the United States. I mean, it'd be like an NBA team. America's like an NBA team. If every year we got all the top 10 draft picks, we could get the best players from around the world, that team would be number one. And that's sort of the opportunity that the United States has. So I'm opposed to this policy. I think some of my conservative friends who say, they're taking American jobs. No, they're not taking American jobs. They're creating whole industries for America.
Well, I mean, in some of the states, there's about a dozen states that have more than 10,000 H-1B visa employees, according to some of the data I've seen. The argument is made that, there may be those examples that you offered, but there's a lot of examples, too, where there's corruption within the system and you have people that are really being hired, not because there's no one to fill that job at the same talent level here, but because they can hire them for less money and perhaps work them harder as well. I mean, these are the arguments that are made, at least.
So right, and it just simply isn't. Now, might there be a few examples of that where corrupt companies are taking advantage of the system? But even there, it's kind of hard to believe because it's very expensive, even under the current rules, to bring an H-1B visa worker into the United States. So, they're not going to spend, it costs these companies already tens of thousands of dollars to bring these people in, to transport them here, And the idea that they're going to do that so they can, reduce the wages of that worker by $4 an hour, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But more importantly, the demographics are very simple here. In the United States today, I just turned 65, so I'm an example of this. Baby boomers are retiring at the pace of 11,000 Americans a day. Every day are retiring. Do you know how many young Americans are entering the workforce?
No.
About 7,000 to 8,000. So just do the math here, folks. We have 11,000 Americans retiring every day and 8,000 people entering the workforce. If we don't have immigration, our economy is going to shrink. It's that simple. It's just math. And so we are blessed by the fact when we're the one country in the world that could actually bring in young, talented, hardworking people that will prosper in America and make us continue to be the world economic superpower. So, by the way, did you see that statistically on the hotline the other day that Hispanic Americans today now have a higher per capita income than blacks do, which is amazing because most immigrants, Hispanics have only been in the country for at most one generation, and they're prospering in this country. And it is sad. We have to figure out what's going on in Black America. Why is it that Asians now have higher incomes than whites do? Did you know that?
Yeah, we talked about that a bit.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, how can we be a systemically racist country when people with brown skin are richer than white people?
Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle. Stephen, thank you as always.
Okay, Dan, have a great week. Take care.
You too. And Steve joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chivato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, but having a bank that you can trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Business owners, is your company's cybersecurity ready to handle today's cyber attacks? They're getting more and more sophisticated every year. Some companies never recover due to the fallout. In 2021, a ransomware group called DarkSide gained access to Colonial Pipeline through a compromised password. The impact? $4.4 million paid in ransom. In 2017, Equifax had a massive breach, which ended up costing more than $700 million in settlements. Large companies from Target and Yahoo to small businesses, including medical practices, have suffered major losses due to cyber attacks. Many had to close their doors. Access One is here to protect your business 24/7, year after year. Access One, proud sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer, are guys you can count on. Cybersecurity isn't just about IT, it's about protecting your survival and customer trust. If you're concerned about your cybersecurity, get a free baseline cybersecurity assessment from Access One by calling 1-800-804-8333 or filling out the contact form at access1inc.com. That's Access One, spell the number, O-N-E, access1inc.com. They're here in Chicago. Again, the number 1-800-804-8333 to schedule your free baseline cybersecurity assessment or visit them online at access1inc.com.
Software development engineers, Deer Park, Illinois. Salary $110,000 to $135,000 per year. Standard company benefits. Using Modak Naboo, capture, analyze, transform, and orchestrate data from a variety of sources, as well as created software products and an underlying system using Modak Fireshots. Develop APIs for integrating with external systems and consuming data from various sources using Modak Fireshots. Some job duties can be performed from home. Send resume to Modak Analytics Limited at hr@modak.com.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast.
This is an important thing to recognize about Trump is he's a very transactional guy. Trump will impose a penalty, and if you come to him and say, well, let's make a deal. This is the actual opposite of socialism. This is called cutting a deal to make something work. And I think that's all that goes through Trump's mind.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Well, we decided to develop our own mattress line just, I think, purely from a quality standpoint again.
We wanted to go the opposite way the industry was going. The industry was cheapening things, and we didn't believe in that.
Ben and Arvid from Penny Mustard Furnishings.
The entire mattress industry has gone to one-sided. We still believe that a two-sided is going to last you longer. You can get more comfort out of it.
5 years from now, 10 years from now, I want them to look back and say, wow, I bought that a long time ago, and I'm still really happy with it. That's true in our mattresses. It's true in our furniture.
PennyMustard.com.
Rising debt, stock market swings, and global shocks can affect your retirement. But even in this economy, there's still opportunity. Protect your retirement with a secure, tax-advantaged gold IRA. Instead of leaving a 401k or IRA at the mercy of markets, hold physical gold or silver. Real protection for your future. And Noble Gold makes it simple. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com and chat with a specialist. The conversation is free, and the peace of mind is priceless. NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer. AM 560, The Answer.
In some happy news, Andrew Colvett, Charlie Kirk's show executive producer, posted yesterday, pre-Sunday, we had around 60,000 inquiries for Turning Point USA chapters. Post-Sunday, now over 120,000 inquiries. Even accounting for attrition and duplicates, we're on the cusp of having a TP USA or Club America chapter in every high school and college campus in America. All right. Coming up at 8:08, we'll talk to Robert Royal, editor-in-chief of the Catholic Thing. He's in town for Aid for Women dinner tomorrow night. We'll talk about Supich and Durbin, among other topics, at 8:08. It is now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
This is a Fox News alert. A shooting at a federal immigration enforcement facility in Dallas, Texas. I'm Dave Anthony.
ICE telling me in no clearer way that they call this, quote, a clear attack on ICE.
After much protested ICE immigration raids targeting those here illegally committing crimes, Fox News' Griff Jenkins also reports.
Shots were fired into the sally port of this facility along the freeway there in Dallas, and the ICE confirms that the shooter is down, a self-inflicted wound, and that 3 individuals have been hit.
Fox 4 in Dallas is just reporting that the gunman, who was on a rooftop, is dead, and UN. One of the three people shot is dead, the other two critically injured. Jimmy Kimmel went back on the air last night and got emotional, returning from a suspension over what he said about Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin.
It was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man.
Adding he never intended to blame any specific group for the actions of a disturbed individual either.
But the spokesman for Kirk's Turning Point USA organization is responding, quote, "Not good enough, Jimmy. It's simple. Here's what you need to say. I'm sorry for saying the shooter was MAGA. He was not. He was of the left. I apologize for the Kirk family for lying. Please accept my sincere apology. I will do better. I was wrong." Kimmel said he was touched deeply by Erica Kirk's forgiveness of her husband's killer.
Fox's Brian Yennis. Kimmel also spoke out for free speech, thanking his supporters and some conservatives who were critical of his suspension. He got a standing ovation saying President Trump can't take a joke. The president posted on Truth Social, Kimmel shows Democrat garbage. In another post, the president called Russia a paper tiger, adding he thinks Ukraine is in a position to win back all of its territory that Russia has taken in the war. This after the president met at the UN with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Scattered showers, high today of 74. 2 men in the country illegally were arrested and accused of taking a girl more than 500 miles from New York to Blue Island. Fox 32 Chicago's Casey Cronus has more.
A 13-year-old girl was reported missing by her family when she left home in Rochester, New York on September 11th and didn't return. Federal agents traced the girl's whereabouts to the far north side of Blue Island. When U.S. Marshals tracked her down last Saturday, they found her in an apartment with 2 adult men, an 18-year-old and his 49-year-old father. ICE determined the men were in the U.S. illegally. U.S. Marshals Director Gadi Serralta says the teen girl had been communicating with that 18-year-old online.
United Airlines flights departing from the U.S. and Canada were halted last night due to a technical glitch. This is the second time in 2 months that the Chicago-based airlines suffered technical issues which have caused the flights to be halted. Officials say that issue was quickly resolved and flights are back to normal this morning. And a watch party was held last night to watch and vote for the Leo High School Boys Choir as they competed in the finals on America's Got Talent. The choir performed a show-stopping rendition of Hall of Fame by The Script. And if you missed the Leo High School Boys Choir last night, here's what they sounded like. Finds out tonight if they will take home the $1 million prize, but they have already won the hearts of viewers across America, showing the best of what our city has to offer. Congrats. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. What if you could save an average of 90% on dental implants and get 100% of your smile back? With a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. A check of the roads comes up in 2 minutes, but first, time now for AM 560 Business Beat.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Fat Brands, the parent company of Fatburger, Johnny Rockets, Fazoli's, and Twin Peaks, is working with advisors on a restructuring plan. The Wall Street Journal says Fat Brands has $1.3 billion in debt, while its revenue and sales declined in the recent quarter. Its founder, Andrew Wiederhorn, stepped back into the role of CEO earlier this month after the company faced a Securities and Exchange Commission complaint he has denied wrongdoing. NASDAQ futures are higher this morning, helped by upbeat earnings and forecast from Micron Technology. Micron's memory storage products are in high demand because they're used by artificial intelligence developers. The Mortgage Bankers Association's average for a 30-year fixed rate declined to 6.34% last week. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jimmy Coselda, invested in you.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are high interest payments becoming too much to bear? Luckily, there's a way for consumers struggling with over $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans to significantly reduce the amount they owe if they qualify. Qualifying for this debt relief program, which the credit card companies prefer to keep secret, will only require you to pay back a fraction of what you owe with one affordable monthly payment. You don't have to file bankruptcy or need a debt consolidation loan. Consumers can now take advantage of this financial debt relief during the current economic downturn and rising inflation. If you owe $10,000 or even $500,000 in credit card debt or personal loans, call the Debt Relief Advocates Helpline now for this free information and to see if you qualify. Call 800-466-4131. 800-466-4131. Again, that's 800-466-4131.
Living with everyday pain is like having a voice that always says, no, you can't do that. No, you better sit this one out. It's no way to live. So if pain is affecting you, see how Relief Factor can help get you back to life on your terms. One where you say yes a lot more. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor's unique formula of natural ingredients does not just mask pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it for good. Whether it's your back, neck, joints, or muscles, Relief Factor can help you, as it has for so many others. So call 1-800-4RELIEF and give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day to get your life back. Just go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And see how you can say yes to more of everything you want.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with traffic, a service of Fox Valley Coins, a 21-minute ride on the Edens inbound, Lake Cook to Montrose. Edens outbound, Montrose to Lake Cook, 29 minutes. A 46-minute ride on the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, and 21 minutes on the outbound Kennedy from the Byrne Interchange to Montrose. Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office. It'll take you 46 minutes with the clearing stages of a crash on the inbound off-ramp to Mannheim Road. Eisenhower outbound from the Old Post Office to Wolf, 37 minutes, and a 54-minute ride on the Stevenson inbound from 355 to Lakeshore Drive, and a 37-minute travel time Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Bring your gold and silver in today. Each item is priced right in front of you. The coins never leave your sight. Receive cash or check right on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. I'm KT. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now here's the latest forecast from QC Kinetics.
Today, expect scattered showers with cloudy skies in the morning, giving way to a mix of sun and clouds later on. The high will reach 71. Tonight, there may be a few showers early on, but clouds will gradually clear out. The low will drop to 59. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, revisiting the news we brought you last week about Senator Dick Durbin being honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Chicago Archdiocese. And it's ironically entitled, quote-unquote, Keep Hope Alive benefit. Bishop Thomas Paprocki writing about this. It is darkly ironic that he's going to be honored at this Keep Hope Alive benefit. This is darkly ironic because the slaughter of the innocents in utero is nihilistic and always without hope, and the policies Durbin has supported have denied a lifetime to countless unborn children. Senator Durbin's appalling record on the foundational issue of unborn human life renders him unfit to receive the proposed award or any Catholic honor. The decision to grant Durbin this honor is gravely mistaken. If it takes place, it will be a source of enormous scandal among both Catholics and the public at large. people will be understandably confused as to whether the church is sincere in its opposition to abortion, as to whether the church really views abortion as a matter of life and death, and as to whether the church believes human dignity is really at stake. Cardinal Cupich, responding to the firestorm of criticism about this Lifetime Achievement Award that is to be conferred on Senator Durbin, saying this in a statement. Recently, some have criticized the decision of the Archdiocese of Chicago to recognize Senator Dick Durbin at our annual fundraiser for our immigration ministry, Keep Hope Alive. Senator Durbin informed me some years ago that he has taken up residence in Chicago, registered in a parish of the Archdiocese, and considers me to be his bishop. Accordingly, I have remained faithful to the May 2021 instructions of the then Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, advising bishops to, quote, reach out and engage in dialogue with Catholic politicians within their jurisdictions as a means of understanding the nature of their positions and their comprehension of Catholic teaching, unquote. At the heart of the consistent ethic of life is the recognition that Catholic teaching on life and dignity cannot be reduced to a single issue, even an issue as important as abortion. The annual celebration of immigrants, Keep Hope Alive, will recognize all the critically important contributions Senator Durbin has taken to advance Catholic social teaching in the areas of immigration, the care for the poor, Laudato Si, and world peace. The recognition of his defense of immigrants at this moment when they are subjected to terror and harm is not something to be regretted, but a reflection that the Lord stands profoundly with both immigrants who are in danger and those who work to protect them. I mean, it's not just the life issue, by the way. It's also, for example, his support for trans, for that radical left gender ideology. That statement, I don't know if it hits you the same way it hits me. So Dick Durbin's support for open borders is consistent with Catholic teaching on the defense of immigrants, on care for the poor. But those who support the rule of law, border security, removing people in this country illegally, particularly those who've, committed crimes in addition to the crime of coming here illegally. That is not consistent with Catholic teaching. That's runs afoul of the Catechism, does it? Yeah, I can see what Bishop Paprocki is saying when it creates a bit of confusion. I'm confused. For help with some clarity on this, Robert Royal, the editor-in-chief of the Catholic Thing, joins us, and he will be joining everybody tomorrow night at the Aid for Women annual benefit dinner at the Union League Club, where Robert Royal is the featured speaker. Helpaidforwomen.org, helpaidforwomen.org, if you would like to attend this annual benefit dinner. Starts at 6:30. Again, it's at the Union League Club in downtown Chicago tomorrow night, Thursday, September 25th. Robert Royal, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So how do you come down on this theological and political disagreement between, say, the position represented by Bishop Paprocki versus the position represented by Cardinal Cupich?
Well, look, everything that you just described about the justification for giving Dick Durbin this award is a rationalization. There's no other way to talk about it, because the Archdiocese of Chicago itself has a policy dating back to 2004 in which it says that people like him, people who have not just talked about they're personally opposed to abortion but wanted to leave the decision up to the woman and their doctors, that they should not be honored in the way that they're going to be honored. So to begin with, the Archdiocese is in contradiction with itself. But look, this is an absurdity. It's a couple of people have been on the joke, and I've been repeating this myself. If Dick Durbin had said, look, I'm opposed to ICE agents shooting people at the border, but, it's a decision that individual consciences have to make, but I'm opposed to abortion. Well, no archdiocese would ever give a person like that an award. If you take seriously, as Catholics should and do, that abortion is killing an innocent human life. And our late Pope Francis, I think, put it quite trenchantly. He said that abortion is like hiring a hitman to deal with a problem. So what this is quite clearly a political calculation. It's saying that, of course we are opposed to abortion, but we've got all these other issues that we're interested in as well. I mean, there are certain things that a person allows to happen, and even let's face it, in his case, he was positively favoring all those other issues too that you're talking about, trans, LGBT, and whatnot.
Marriage redefinition.
When a person is, when a person is positively doing that, to ignore it and say, well, but he's kind of good on poverty. Well, in what way? Or he's kind of good on immigration. And I think you're right to point out it's not that he's good on immigration. He's good on illegal immigration, because we're all in favor of immigration in a legal sense. We're all, one way or another, either descended from or ourselves are immigrants, because that's what America is. My wife is an immigrant, but she's a legal immigrant. So what he's in favor of is people who come here by breaking the law, and somehow that is something to be celebrated. Look, there's no way that this is a consistent, rational, truthful expression of who he is, what he's done, and why he should be honored.
I don't have much hope that there'll be a real sustained reaction to this offense, as Bishop Paprocki describes it, in Chicagoland. But do you get the sense in the church writ large that the politicization like this being an example, is it accomplishes two things. One, it recoils people from the church in the sense of Cardinal Supich's vision for the church. And the other is that it sends people who are interested in the faith to real parishes that are interested in a unyielding commitment to the catechism.
Yeah, I think that that's certainly the case. And God bless Bishop Paprocki, because as we know, to say what he said gets you no roses sent to you. You even get pushback from some Catholics. But it's clear that where the future of the Catholic Church is going to be, if there is going to be a future of it, is going to be with people who really believe in the faith and not people who compromise in terms of politics. Look, I was very close with Cardinal George, the previous Cardinal Archbishop of Chicago. I worked on several projects with him years ago when he was still alive. And I used to push him about the Durbin case because he knew, of course, that it was a problem, but he preferred to deal with it privately. He would bring me in and say, look, you're endangering your immortal soul. I would say to him, look, it's a public scandal. You've got to do something about it publicly. But he took this different approach, and he had a right to do it that way. But he would never have honored somebody who actually is mocking by his actions, by his words, by his political activity, what the Catholic Church is. And that vision of Catholicism, I think, is it's going to disappear because it has no substance to it. It becomes one with the Democratic Party. And once it does that, even the Democratic Party is having problems with the positions that it's adopted over the years recently, the more radical positions that it's adopted. So, if you're going to stay faithful to the catechism, to the faith, to the entire tradition, the moral tradition of the Catholic Church, and even going back into Judaism about things like abortion and things like homosexuality, if you're going to remain faithful to that, you're going to be part of a tradition that's lasted 2,000 years. If you're not going to be part of a political party that is itself changing and will be gone before any of us are dead.
What's your expectation for Pope Leo's reign?
Well, look, I'm cautiously optimistic. He's a Chicagoan, as you know. He's a much more carefully spoken person. I think we're going to see him continue to he's going to encourage people to support immigration. This is what I think he's inherited from the previous Pope, Pope Francis. But I wonder if he's, as an American, is going to understand the complexity of this situation, that it's not simply the word that's often being used is to respect the dignity of people who are immigrants. No one denies that every human being has dignity. That's fundamental to people who believe in God. But there's a difference between that and where the politics are going to go. And he's already indicated, for example, that he doesn't see there's going to be any change on LGBT in the church. He recognizes that it's the role of the Pope to be a preacher and not to be a politician trying to solve all the world's problems. He's just said this in a recent interview. So I'm cautiously hopeful that he's going to bring a certain realism and a certain discipline to the papacy. But he's got a tough job, and he's admitted that he's on a steep learning curve because now he's a guy who's operating at the highest international level with world leaders.
Robert Royal is the editor-in-chief of The Catholic Thing. Again, he is in town tomorrow for Aid for Women's annual benefit dinner. That will be at the Union League Club at 6:30. For tickets, helpaidforwomen.org, helpaidforwomen.org. Robert Royal, thanks so much for joining us, and enjoy your time in Chicago.
Great. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Fellow patriots, our neighbors in Manteno are under attack. Governor Pritzker handed over $536 million of your tax dollars to Goshen, a company affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party and under congressional investigation. Now Goshen wants to use toxic chemicals near family homes. But the concerned citizens of Manteno are fighting back in court, and they need our help. Join us Tuesday, October 28th at Olympia Fields Country Club for an evening with Gordon Chang, a leading expert on China's threat to America. Cocktails at 6, dinner at 7. Every dollar raised goes directly to their legal battle against the CCP-affiliated Goshen. Get your tickets now at breakthrough-ideas.com. Learn more at our Dump Goshen webpage. This is our fight, Illinois. American taxpayers shouldn't fund Communist China's expansion onto American soil. Get involved today. Breakthrough Ideas and the Coalition for a Prosperous America are sponsoring this event and standing with concerned citizens everywhere.
Hi, Dan Proft here. Data shows that boys make up more than 1/3 of those exploited in the sex trade. However, there are virtually no services available to male victims and survivors of trafficking and exploitation. They are often overlooked, ignored, and left without support. For 35 years, Emmaus has been on the front lines of an issue most of us can hardly imagine, helping men and boys in Chicago escape the nightmare of human trafficking and rebuild their lives. On Friday, November 1st, you're invited to attend an unforgettable evening at the Emmaus 35th Anniversary Gala at Fisherman's Inn in Elburn, Illinois. Together, they'll celebrate faith, freedom, and restoration with a beautifully catered dinner, an inspiring program, and a silent auction, all to support the mission of rescuing and restoring survivors. This is your chance to do something that truly matters. Reserve your seat today, or if you can't attend, make a life-changing donation at streets.org. That's streets.org. Emmaus is restoring lives. Let's help them keep going. Visit streets.org.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
You know when that big online store has special days with ridiculously low prices?
Yeah.
Why doesn't Hasselus Mattress do that?
We do.
You do? When?
Every day.
Okay, good one. But really, when are the big discounts?
Like I said, every day. You know our showrooms are employee free.
So I can give your mattresses a try.
With no pushy sales guy.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that allows us to sell Sealy Posturepedic, Beauty Rest, and more for way less.
Give me numbers.
Our 35 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393. Free next day delivery too.
And you do this every day?
Yeah. Plus, through Monday, get a free box spring with every Sealy Posturepedic, Beauty Rest, and more, or take an equal amount off an adjustable base.
Wow.
So I guess you could say now is a prime time to buy.
I see what you did there.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you or shop online at Hasselus.com.
Aid for Women is hosting their annual dinner on Thursday, September 25th, and you're invited. We're gathering at the beautiful Union League Club downtown. That's 65 West Jackson Boulevard for what's always a really special night. This year's speaker is Dr. Robert Royal, who founded the Faith and Reason Institute in Washington. He has some fascinating insights on faith, culture, and the issues we're all talking about. Here's how the evening unfolds. At 5 o'clock, you can meet Dr. Robert Lawler, our medical director, an amazing person with some amazing stories. Then we'll have drinks and good conversation at 5:30, followed by dinner and the program at 6:30. It's really about supporting women in our community. Getting tickets is easy. Just go to helpaidforwomen.org. That's helpaidforwomen.org. You can grab dinner tickets, try your luck with drawing tickets, or if you're feeling generous, check out the sponsorship options. September 25th, Aid for Women's annual dinner. Hope to see you there. Visit helpaidforwomen.org to join us.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Some reaction to our conversation about soupage honoring Dick Durbin. Conversation with Robert Royal from the Catholic Thing. Jack on 55, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. Soupage is actually crosswise with Pope Francis, whose full statement about mercy and that leadership should show in admitting immigrants. The adjacent sentence was, and they must take care to be sure people admitted will assimilate. And that was very poorly reported, but it was the next sentence.
Thanks for the call, Jack. Something else, too, about Robert Royal said brings me to this priest from St. Paul VI in Riverside, Father Larry Baspis. Part of his sermon this past Sunday included these comments. The comments that he made, again, on the Sunday in which we had Charlie Kirk's funeral service.
My dear friends, let's not kid ourselves. You know, death doesn't magically baptize a life lived in hatred. Public influence doesn't automatically equate to gospel witness. We cannot keep praising wolves and pretending they're shepherds just because they carry a Bible under their arm. You know, that's not Christianity. That is pure idolatry with a Jesus bumper sticker slapped on the back. So how do we avoid falling into this trap? Well, first, we have to check our heart. Ask, am I following Christ? That Christ, this Christ. Am I following him? Is he the way, the truth, and the life? Or because I like the way he makes me feel safe and justified? And secondly, measure every voice or every so-called leader against the standard of Christ himself. Does this person or character preach love, mercy, humility, and forgiveness? Or are they sowing division and anger and superiority? If it's the latter, then they're not pointing you to Christ. They're pulling you away. And third, this is where we need courage. Don't confuse cultural Christianity with discipleship. Just because someone quotes scripture doesn't mean they're living it. The devil himself quoted scripture to Jesus in the desert, okay?
Okay. Interesting protocol for assessment. Didn't use any names, didn't use Charlie Kirk's name, but this guy is, from reading up on him a bit, seems to be very much in the model of Cardinal Soupage when it comes to things like immigration policy we were just discussing. It's hard to avoid the conclusion that he was referencing Charlie Kirk with that homily, don't you think? St. Paul VI Parish in Riverside, Father Larry Baspis. Maybe there's a parishioner or two would like to comment on that priest and those remarks. because certainly if what my instincts are correct, it goes back to what Robert Royal was saying about the churches that will stand the test of time. Well, the parishes that will stand the test of time and the parishes that won't. The church will stand the test of time, but the parishes that will and the parishes that won't. Coming up at 8:38, Nicole Walter, President and CEO, HM Manufacturing in Wakanda. A big, beautiful bill success story. Nicole Walter at 8:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 66 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Scattered showers, high today of 74. 2 men in the country illegally were arrested and accused of taking a girl more than 500 miles from New York to Blue Island. Fox 32 Chicago's Casey Cronus has more.
They found her in an apartment with 2 adult men, an 18-year-old and his 49-year-old father. ICE determined the men were in the U.S. illegally. U.S. Marshals Director Gadi Seralta says the teen girl had been communicating with that 18-year-old online.
United Airlines flights departing from the U.S. and Canada were halted last night due to a technical glitch. This is the second time in 2 months that the Chicago-based airline suffered technical issues which have caused the flights to be halted. Officials say that issue was quickly resolved and flights are back to normal this morning. And the Leo High School Boys Choir finds out tonight if they're the champs on America's Got Talent. The guys brought the house down last night, truly showing the best of our city. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Scott Jennings sees more sore losing from the left.
This is Tim Walz, Democrat vice presidential candidate last year.
The last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
I mean, he's literally sitting there saying, I wake up in the morning hoping to find news that the President of the United States had died.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hello, my name is Dr. Michael Huber, co-developer of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Did you know that the 23 natural ingredients in Virago are not only an immune enhancer, but also support and protect your heart, lungs, brain, and kidneys? These organs are negatively affected by numerous diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, and chronic inflammation. The natural ingredients in Virago, such as luteolin and fisetin, protect and improve the cognitive function in your brain. The uracilic acid in Virago protects and improves kidney functions, whereas quercetin protects and improves heart function. These are just a few of the natural ingredients that provide a synergistic effect. Virago, inspiring healthy choices.
Boost your immune system with Virago. Order your bottle of Virago today. Order online at myvirago.com and use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but get a living trust, and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Nauman & Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
Taking a look at your drive in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center with traffic, a service of Blindster.com. No delays inbound Edens, Lake Cook to Montrose in a 17-minute ride. 29 minutes outbound Edens, Montrose to Lake Cook. 40 minutes on the inbound Kennedy, Montrose to the Burn Interchange. On the Kennedy outbound, you're looking at 22 minutes from the Burn Interchange to Montrose. Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 43 minutes. A 32-minute ride on the Eisenhower outbound from the Old Post Office to Wolf. A 48-minute ride on the Stevenson Stevenson inbound from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound Stevenson, Lakeshore Drive to 355, 37 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound 95th to the Burn Interchange, you're looking at 35 minutes. Looking for affordable blinds, shades, or shutters for your home? Don't hire an expensive pro. Check out Blindster.com, where they offer custom-made window coverings at guaranteed low prices with a team of pros ready to help you every step of the way. Blindster.com. I'm KT. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now here's the latest forecast from QC Kinetics.
Today, expect scattered showers with cloudy skies in the morning, giving way to a mix of sun and clouds in the afternoon. The high will reach 71 degrees. Tonight, there may be isolated showers early on, with clouds gradually clearing out later. The low will be around 59 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just updating that story in Dallas before we get on to our next guest. 3 people shot at the ICE facility in Dallas, including 2 detainees who were killed. Another person was injured in the shooting, but then the reporting is also that multiple victims are in critical condition, so it's unclear. Fog of, the immediacy of something like this as usual. It's a little unclear, the reporting in terms of how many people were injured, but there is the report that 2 detainees were killed by this sniper who shot from a elevated position and died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound as agents approached. Do not know the motive yet. Christy Nome posting on X, the shooter is deceased by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. While we don't know the motive yet, we know that our ICE law enforcement is facing unprecedented violence against them. It must stop. Please pray for the victims and their families. So continue to update that story as more information becomes available. Turning to happier matters, HM Manufacturing. HM Manufacturing, a success story from the Big Beautiful Bill. Nicole Walter is the president and CEO of HM Manufacturing, and right here in Illinois, in Wakanda to be specific, a power transmission components provider in Wakanda. And she joins us now. Nicole, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me, Dan.
So the impact of the Big Beautiful Bill on HM Manufacturing, what was it?
Well, it's been amazing. So I would say starting in 2018, when this all kind of came about, we were really able to kind of upskill not just the employees, but kind of add on to newer technology. So we were able to take on new customers. We were able to do more intricate lines of power transmission components, so gears and such. And, when President Trump became president again, it was like the faucets were turned back on for manufacturing. And so even though there was a lot of requests for quotes, and you could see that a lot of the companies were starting to look at reshoring and those types of initiatives, a lot of us were kind of on hold because we were really uncertain of what was going to happen. And so now that we have this passed, we are now looking at purchasing, and we're actually kind of finalizing all of this, $650,000 worth of new equipment, which means more jobs internally, which means more skills, and being able to go after larger customers and keep manufacturing, not just in America, but for Illinoisans as well.
How many employees do you have at present?
We have 22.
Okay, so when you're talking, I just read a report on this, profiling you and HM Manufacturing, and the $650,000 investment in new machines, hiring 5 new team members is apparently what you're also projecting to do. But five new employees in a company that has 23. That's a big move.
It is, and it's exciting. And the team is looking forward to it as well because they start to see that we're growing. And I would say in the past few years, there was some stagnant growth. There really wasn't a lot happening. Certain industries were a lot slower after COVID. And so the team was a little bit nervous as to where things were going. And so now that they've seen all of this influx of machinery purchases and quotes and orders, they're excited. And to them, especially in a community of Wakanda, and having interns that get to come in, they're excited to see all of this. So it's really great for us.
And having a company that's that close to the Wisconsin border staying on this side of the Wisconsin border has to be exciting, too, and increasingly unusual.
It is. And, you know, I will be honest, there's been so many other states that have approached us for moving and obviously for better tax purposes. But we're here for the long game. As painful as that is sometimes to say, you know, we're really excited for being here. We have a great breadth of talent here in this city specifically. And so we're just we're going all in. And so being able to take people that are in Volo, Wakanda, Lake Zurich, and be able to have that is really great for us.
Give us the backstory on HM Manufacturing, your company.
Yeah, so my dad started the business in 1979, and I came on board in 2010, and we've been kind of kicking it ever since. We've been doing really well. We've been growing. My dad originally started doing more for the automotive sector, and then in 2008, 2009, we started to move towards food processing, beverage, packaging. Now we're really into aerospace and defense and marine. So we've really taken a big grouping of industries, and we've grown our product line, and as well as being able to do larger diameter parts and smaller. And so we're really versatile, and I think that's what makes us super unique is we've got a great team. My dad, who's, by the way, 82, still comes in every day. God bless him.
Yeah, typical family business, right?
Yet.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The founder wants to hang around. I get it. So your story too. I mean, you sound like you're a relatively young woman, and you decided you wanted to go into manufacturing. In terms of your professional life, how did that transpire?
Well, I actually was never supposed to be in the business. Isn't that ironic? So even though I grew up around the kitchen table, always hearing about manufacturing, I was kind of pushed to do other things. And then I was doing finance and chemical engineering, and I loved that. And then, of course, graduating in 2009 was the worst time to try to go and find a job. And while the business was kind of suffering a little bit, my dad thought, hey, why don't you come on board for a little bit, maybe learn some stuff, and then you can go off and enjoy your career in another industry. And honestly, that was the best thing. I never left. I loved it. I ended up learning precision machining. I went for classes. And I really invested a lot of my time into learning every aspect of this business, and it really served me super well.
Did you go? I mean, are you an engineer by education? Is that what you went to college for?
Yes, chemical engineering. Yeah.
Okay, great. And you're talking about hiring new people. I mean, one of the laments that we hear all the time, I'm sure you're familiar with, is the difficulty in finding people to work in manufacturing. Even for good paying, high skill jobs that are available. Is that a challenge?
Yes, and it always will be. I think this is why I've opened up my doors for a lot of internships. So whether you're in high school doing a vocational program in machining, or you're in college looking to do engineering, I really have tried to get kids all the time, all year round, to try to figure out what manufacturing is and what it isn't, and try to change that narrative. And then we do apprenticeship programs. So I work a lot with the community colleges, a lot with the high schools. And we've been very fortunate that we've had a great kind of, I would say, assembly line of really talented people that really love manufacturing. And then we send them out for, whether it's CAD, whether it's for machining, to other associations that have that. And we pay for it 100%. And it's really great to see how they progress. I had one guy named Alex who came to me because of an internship, and he loved manufacturing and loved running machines. And he worked every machine out on my shop floor, and now he's an engineer, and he does all of our CAD. So it's really great to kind of see the progression of someone coming in and being like, oh, I just want to be on machines, and then being able to give them more. So we've been really lucky. And I think me being younger helps too. So we have a really young crew. The average age is 35, so that just kind of tells you where we're at.
And my reading up suggests that you're involved with like the Technology and Management Association, so you're involved in sort of advocacy for the manufacturing sector in Illinois.
Yes. So So VIA, which is the Valerie Industrial Association, to TMA, Technology Manufacturing Association, AGMA, American Gear Manufacturing Association, and then I'm also on the board of NAM, which is where I do the most of my advocacy, which is the National Association of Manufacturers. So I stay busy.
Yeah, all the associations. I mean, I know you like what you're seeing, or at least some of it, from the federal government with the big, beautiful bill and what that's going to allow you to do, as you were describing, in terms of the investment and the hiring. What about at the state level? What would you like to see? I mean, I know that, sort of not just sort of blue sky kind of wishes, but if there was one or two things that are, particularly commonsensical and theoretically plausible that would really aid your business and your sector, you have thoughts?
Yeah, so, we've been trying to work with the governor and some other state reps on trying to get better funding for training. Right now, it's really hard to go after those grants. It takes forever. You need someone to really be super staffed at understanding how to go after them, what you need to address and do. And so it'd be nice to be able to have something a little bit easier to have and to also be able to grab and for it to go a little bit longer. So there's so many right now, I would say, red tape of what you need and don't need. And so it makes it much harder. So I would say it'd be so much nicer to be able to have something where you could take all the money that as a business that you're investing into new employees or for interns for apprenticeship programs and be able to get some kind of kickback, because it is expensive. And so I would say the more that we're able to invest into the employee and get some sort of reward, it'll be much easier to kind of keep manufacturing rocking and rolling.
Well, kickback is the right word. You're using the right terminology when you talk to politicians. At least you have that figured out. You know who you're dealing with. Nicole Walter, President and CEO of HM Manufacturing, a power transmission components provider in Wakanda. Nicole, thanks for joining us and continued success with the business.
Thank you so much, Dan.
And Nicole joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call now at 800-533-6605 for a free consultation. For 17 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. Don't get stuck in the endless cycle of payments. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
Here's sound teaching from God's Word from Dr. David Jeremiah on Turning Point. Each weekday morning at 9:30 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Is your company's cybersecurity ready to handle today's cyber attacks? Some companies never recover due to the fallout. Listen to this. In 2021, a ransomware group called DarkSide gained access to Colonial Pipeline through a compromised password. The impact? 4.4 million paid in ransom. In 2017, Equifax had a massive breach which ended up costing over $700 million in settlements. Large companies from Target, Yahoo, to small businesses, including medical practices, have suffered major losses due to cyber attacks. Many have had to close their doors. Access One is here to protect your business 24/7. Cybersecurity isn't just about IT. It's about protecting your survival and customer trust. If you're concerned about your cybersecurity, get a free baseline cybersecurity assessment from AM 560 sponsor Access One. Call 1-800-804-8333 or fill out the contact form at accessoneinc.com. Access One has been protecting Chicago businesses for 3 decades. That's 1-800-804-8333 or accessoneinc.com.
Hey, I'm Steve Wyatt, and I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters Show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters. Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer. AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Some confusion about that priest I mentioned in the parish in Riverside, Father Larry Baspis. That homily, the portion of the homily I played, which seemed to indicate that he was taking Charlie Kirk to task and saying something less than kind things about him, buried in an interpretation of Scripture. Somebody texted St. Paul Episcopal Church, Riverside, the only St. Mary, the only Catholic parish in Riverside is St. Mary's. Well, it's St. Mary Church, St. Paul VI Parish. I mean, I have a bulletin. St. Mary Church, 105 Herrick Road, but St. Paul VI Parish. I'm not familiar with it, so I'm just going by what I have, but that's what I have. So there you go. If anybody is part of that parish, attends that church, I'd love to hear from you on Father Baspis. Also, I loved, past tense, to hear from Matt Shaw, the rookie third baseman for the Cubs, who attended Charlie Kirk's funeral service on Sunday in Arizona and had to take some time off of playing third base for the Cubs. Concerned about blowback for attending the funeral service of a friend? No.
All the veteran players that I talked to, and really the whole team, having their support was really important to me. And then, I mean, Charlie, he was someone that I met at the apartments in Arizona where I lived, and then someone who was one of the biggest Cubs fans I ever met. And he texted me after every game, great win for the Cubbies, and he was super, super supportive of us, and obviously someone who's really faithful. So we connected on that front as well. But yeah, I mean, his wife Erica had texted me asking me if I would come to the funeral, and I felt as though it was something that was really important for me to do.
Are you concerned about the backlash, because there is a lot of politics about this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm not concerned at all. No, my connection with Charlie was through our faith. That's something that drives me every day. That's the reason why I'm able to do what I do every day, and that's something I'm extremely thankful for. I know without my faith and without the many blessings I've been given in my life that I wouldn't be here, able to talk to you guys, able to help this team eventually go and win championships. So that's something I feel really, really blessed about. So whatever backlash comes is okay. I feel strong about my faith, and that what was meant to be happened.
There you go. Impressive young guy, Matt Shaw. Almost enough to get me to root for the Cubs in the playoffs. Almost. Not quite. Pete Crow Armstrong fan club posting on X in response to what you just heard Matt Shaw say there. Not sure why Matt Shaw attending his friend's funeral is even being talked about. I'd hope that every person on this app and every Cubs player would be there for their friend or family member's funeral. Right, sort of a apolitical human response to the death of a friend, but of course there are many that are unable to operate on that human level.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Seth Liebson for townhall.com. In a day and age of fleeting stories fed to us by a constant conveyor belt of crisis and frenzy, keeping us all in a constant state of agitation with little ability to focus on the meaningful, what cannot be ignored is that our nation recently witnessed the first national political assassination in over 50 years. In the wake of that, the memorial service for the victim, Charlie Kirk, had the largest viewership of any memorial service in U.S. history. The service was a call to prayer and faith as much as it was to action. It was a revival and a crusade, especially for youth, who the memorialized was especially close to and worked with. It was a deep moment, a weighty moment, and a reproach to all the unimportant and empty figures our elite media propagates. The impact of that service will have lasting power in an age too celebratory of the momentary, calling all who watched, particularly the young, to the better angels of our nature. I'm Seth Liebson.
Shop the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University and The Sean Thompson Show when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. The Dinesh D'Souza Podcast.
This is an important thing to recognize about Trump is he's a very transactional guy. Trump will impose a penalty, and if you come to him and say, well, let's make a deal. This is the actual opposite of socialism. This is called cutting a deal to make something work. And I think that's all that goes through Trump's mind.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza Podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com. AM 560, The Answer.
Time now for another reason why Dan Proft is single.
So, in response to Trump's press conference yesterday with his public health team and his suggestion that pregnant women should avoid taking acetaminophen unless absolutely necessary because of the association with an increased incidence of autism in children. All these women took to social media, where else, to film themselves gratuitously taking Tylenol to really stick it to Trump. I'll fix his wagon. I'm going to, eat this whole bottle of Tylenol. Women like this chick.
About to take Tylenol for my headache while pregnant because I don't take my medical advice from a man who doesn't have a degree in science, healthcare, or medicine, and who had a parasitic brain infection and was addicted to heroin for 14 years. Yeah, I'll trust my doctors who have their degree.
And there's these associated videos. They're dancing around these preggers that taking time. I don't want to go there, but, just whatever Trump says, I'm going to do the opposite. If Trump said, to not do something that is obviously lethal, would you then do it? This is the level of TDS. Maybe that woman who's going to trust the doctors with the degrees, maybe she would be interested to hear what, I don't know, Dr. Marty Makary had to say. He's a medical doctor. He's Johns Hopkins. He's pretty sharp. This is his summation again. Yesterday, he was on with Laura Ingraham, building upon what they had announced earlier in the day.
Well, I'll tell you, the biggest study was done by Harvard and Mount Sinai. They looked at 27 studies showing an association. There were 4 against it, and they said, based on the overwhelming body of evidence, there was a causal relationship. Those are the exact words of the dean of the Harvard School of Public Health. So there's been this growing body of evidence. We're just now bringing it to the forefront so that people know when they pop a Tylenol willy-nilly during their pregnancy, they should know most low-grade fevers don't need to be treated.
Yeah. So there's that. There is the science and the data and people with medical degrees that are offering the distillation of it. Something to consider. Yeah, of course, consult with your doctor. Do what you want. But, hey. By the way, these are the same individuals, generally speaking, I presume, that are probably locked-in COVIDians. So ever since Operation Warp Speed and Trump, it's not Trump's vaccine, right? Because Biden, I got vaccinated when Biden was president, so therefore it's Biden. That makes it okay. Like Kamala Harris. I'm not going to take something that was created while Trump was president under his direction, but I will take the same thing as long as there's a different president in the White House. As we talk about, there's only so many people that you can reach. And so people who would move to post their videos of them taking Tylenol as a statement against the man are really not worth your time, and certainly not worth taking out and treating to dinner. Another reason why Dan Proft is single. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. We will be back tomorrow with more, including more on that shooting at the ICE facility in Dallas. It's now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
This is a Fox News alert. A sniper takes aim at an immigrant.